Hello, welcome back to All for United WFC. It's deadline day. None of us are suited and booted, unfortunately. We were literally about to go live, and then we obviously have all seen the news that you have now seen in the chat, which we'll quickly share on screen. Well, that's been a bit of a killer to the show idea, hasn't it? Of what we were hoping to talk about. But, I mean, yeah, we've got obviously bits to talk about. We will talk about Geyse as well. We're going to talk about Chloe Kelly. I mean, where do we start? Does anyone want to kick off? I don't really know what to say now. That's kind of thrown me. I had this big show idea planned about Kelly and about all these other things we were going to talk about. That's kind of thrown a bit of a spanner into that. I want to come to a couple of other stuff in a second, because as I have publicly tweeted, United have been after a winger or window, for the second half of the window. So this has now made things interesting, and there's potentially another winger that United may go for now. So there's other stuff to maybe keep an eye on. What does this mean for Geyse? Because as we tweeted yesterday, that a deal for Kelly would mean that Geyse would likely go out on loan. So there's a lot up in the air now. So you guys are literally going to get our live reaction on air. This is going to be quite entertaining. Does anyone have any quick thoughts on that? Arsenal?
I'm confused by this. I thought City's issue was that they didn't want to let her go to a Champions League competitor. I mean, I know we are above both them and Arsenal in the table, but I don't see how this is not letting her go to a Champions League competitor. This seems like a really bizarre move to me. This just doesn't make any sense to me on multiple levels. First of all, the club didn't want to let her go to someone else who was contesting top three, which Arsenal are. And Chloe Kelly apparently didn't want to leave Manchester, which, if this is true, she is. So for context, everyone, we're not joking when we say that, someone read this out literally about 30 seconds before we went live, and I went, "Oh, should we just go live?" Because we're not going to get anything else before we do. But this is just a really bizarre development, because it counters pretty much everything that we've heard, or that I've heard at least all day, about what the club wanted, about what the player wanted. I'm very confused. Is my top class insight. Georgia, I don't know what you think.
Yeah, I'm just confused, because everything I've been reading all day, this just goes completely against. City were quite high strung on not selling or loaning to another Champions League contender, which, they might still draw Arsenal in the actual Champions League this season, let alone competing for top three for next season. No, sorry, this season to go into next. And Chloe Kelly wanted to stay in Manchester, which obviously Arsenal are not. So, a little bit baffled, and literally 30 seconds before we went live. So,
I said you'd get live reactions. Trust me, you're getting them right now. I apologize. I'm going to keep looking at my phone. I'm trying to find out what's going on. So you're going to see me look down a lot, because I am trying to find out what is going on right now with United.
This has just been Catherine from the Telegraph has just tweeted as well. Manchester City have accepted a bid from Arsenal to take Chloe Kelly on loan for the rest of the season.
Well, there we go.
It looks like that's what's happening, I guess. Which, the thumbnail could do with redesigning. But there's not much we can do about that now.
This is why I hate the transfer window. I made it so clear to everybody's doing it. Oh, she's going to United. She's going to come to United. Look at that. Oh, that's going on United. Out of nowhere. Whoop. Nip off the table. Now all of a sudden she's going to Arsenal. It's never true. Never true until the club lets you know. Hence why I don't bother with it. I don't listen to David Ornstein. I don't listen to Romano. I don't listen to Connor Roberts. When the club tells me, then I know. Simple as that. So I'm actually quite happy at the moment. I've got no dramas whatsoever. I wasn't too concerned one way or the other. So there we go. Good news.
Well, that's what we're going to talk about to start with. There's loads of you watching. If you haven't already, make sure you're liking this video and subscribing. Let's get that out of the way to start with. There's loads of your comments and all that kind of thing. I want to get through a lot of those. I'm just updating the tweet at the moment, because I realised I've tweeted that wrong. See, there you go. You're seeing me live tweeting right now, and I've put it wrong. So let me just quickly correct that. But everyone's saying this is good news. Some people are saying this is bad news. What is this good news? Let's go from that from the start. is anyone happy with this, annoyed at this? What's everyone thinking around this? Because there was a lot of, like I said, it's publicly known. Obviously, we put the poll out. 70% said they wanted her at United, and that was done. I think there was about 1,000 people that voted on that poll. So a lot of people clearly wanted her at United. A lot of us on here are a little bit like, not really, didn't really want it. But as I said, now there's a lot of comments. I'm not seeing too many people that are annoyed as such. There's a lot of people laughing about it. I do agree with Lot's comment. I can't lie. We've only got one right winger at the moment, and that's Bizet, and she cannot play every single game. So that's a slight worry, unless obviously we get one in the next few hours. So Chloe, for those of you who haven't already seen, I'm going to put it on the bottom. Here we go. We're going to go full Sky Sports now. I'm going to put it on the bottom of the screen on a little ticker for you. But says a loan offer has been accepted from Arsenal. So she's not coming to United, it looks like. She is going over to Arsenal. So we'll keep an eye on that and whether that develops. But yeah, that's my first question. Is anyone annoyed, upset, happy? What's the mood around this? Like I said, we're literally live reacting to this, that she's now not coming to United. Go on, Carrie. You kicked us off last time.
I wasn't that like... I didn't think a move to United made sense for her because I didn't think that she would get game time ahead of our first choice wingers. Obviously, Geyse potentially going out on loan puts a different complexion on that. I still wasn't convinced it was entirely the right move, but I'm just very bemused by that, how the whole thing has gone, because this interest was reported, I think, last week. So there was clearly time to get a deal done. I think that her statement, which we should mention, by the way, Chloe Kelly's statement that she put out last night on Instagram and other social media, saying that basically, in a nutshell, she was unhappy with the fact she felt like she was being told where she could or could not move to by Manchester City, despite the fact that she wasn't getting any game time there and wanted to get game time ahead of the Euros. So I think that has clearly put some pressure on City today. And somehow we have now emerged into a situation where United were the front runners and Brighton were in for her as well, but she didn't want to go to Brighton, but the club wanted her to go to Brighton, didn't want her to come. Yeah, I'm confused as well, Ella. Like, it's a weird situation.
Can I just ask how we feel about that? Because, I mean, I've been involved in football since I was a very young child.
About her being annoyed about not being able to move, you mean?
Well, that whole where I want to go. Like, I'm fairly certain the club also has a right to not sell you to a side that they don't want to as well. And I don't particularly want to stick up for City, but I don't think you could just be able to throw your toys out the pram and go, well, I want to go to this club and you must let me, because that doesn't seem sensible at all. So I'm intrigued as to what you two think about it.
I'm pretty torn on it, to be honest, because I do understand where she's coming from. Like, it's undoubtedly a difficult situation to be in, to be clear that you don't have a future at the club you're at, but also be told you cannot move to another club that is nearby. You've got to go to a further one. I can understand that that's frustrating, but also there's an argument to be made that if what her main priority is just game time ahead of the Euros, if she goes to Brighton, she's in that starting 11, right? I don't think there's that much debate over that. So, like, if her only concern was game time, I think that would be, you know, I think that Brighton would have been a sensible move because she's starting games there. I'm just seeing the comments coming up saying that we've made an improved effort. If anyone wants to just pull that up while I talk. But, you know, like, I don't know. I can understand both perspectives, to be honest, Barry. Like, I can understand her being upset because it's a club that she doesn't seem to have a future at, that she feels she's being dictated to where she can and can't go. But like you say, like, she is under contract. And unfortunately, that's kind of a risk you take, like, when you sign a contract. If it is true that we're now making improved offers, I'm not totally sure how I feel about that, because let's just all calm down for a second and remember whether how much money we actually have to spend. Like, what I don't want is to get pushed into a crazy bidding war with Arsenal for a half-season loan of a winger that until a couple of weeks ago we didn't express an interest in.
Yeah, so it looks like, so from what Catherine is saying, I'm going to bring this on screen for you if my laptop will allow it. Everyone who's watched the shows recently knows my laptop's a little bit touch and go. Terrace, can you stop sharing your screen for a second? So I cannot do it until you stop. I think. Oh no, it is letting me. There we go. Stream. I never used to do that. But there we go. You're not going to be able to see that. I'm going to have to zoom in. But Manchester United not out of the race for Chloe Kelly. The club is still working on an improved bid to take the England forward on loan. Twists and turns to come. We've chosen the right time to go live because this is going to be all over the place for the next kind of hour or so, I feel like. But what I imagine is happening here is that, you know, loans are not necessarily all just a loan deal and who pays the wages and so on. There's potential loan fees involved. If United want to pay City a fee to take her, that's possible as well. There's a lot that can go into this. There was talk earlier of potentially a permanent deal as well. That's something crazy. So there is a lot to keep an eye on here. But I mean, this is going to be a crazy hour or so, that's for sure. Yeah, Georgia, what's your thoughts? Are you happy, upset? What's your overriding thought? If it is Arsenal, as Catherine said there, we are still potentially in the running here. If it is Arsenal, what's your kind of thoughts? Quick, just off the back of that one.
I mean, I know it's obviously been reported that Caitlin Ford is injured at the minute, so maybe that potentially is why Arsenal have now suddenly popped up at 7 o'clock on deadline day. I mean, I wasn't particularly interested in having her on loan or as a permanent signing. I'm confused. Arsenal doesn't seem to fit many of the things that has been reported that Kelly or City want. In terms of playing time, obviously out of the 3 clubs that have been mentioned, I think Brighton is where she's guaranteed play time. More probably at Arsenal than with us as well. Yeah, I don't really know. I very much agree with what Kera said. The last thing we want to do is be getting into a bidding war for a half-season loan for Chloe Kelly, who is also cup-tied in the FA Cup for us. So a maximum of 8 or 9 games, I think. I'm not sure it's too worth our time, especially if we are going down the half-season loan route.
I think that's the one issue I've got with a potential loan. Like you said, 8 or 9 games most. She can't play the FA Cup. She can't play against City if we got her from there. So that's another game ruled out. Just doesn't seem worth a bit of cover. There are obviously a lot of other questions about other wingers. I will answer what I can, so I'll come back to that. But I want to get Barry's quick thoughts on it. If it is Arsenal, you made your thoughts pretty clear, I feel like, last week on the last couple of shows, obviously, when we spoke about this, that you didn't want the deal to happen as such. It was getting closer, and it looks like United are still in the running. And obviously, I think it's pretty obvious United want this deal to happen with the reports that have come out. What do you want to happen? do you want this to go through? Do you not? What's your feeling around this, or are you not too fussed?
Listen, there's moving parts and variables in every football team, and I think that equally is the biggest problem. The point that's been made about we've only got one right winger if she doesn't come is a fair one. You know, we do have to sit there and think about the squad depth, but equally as fair is the one of why we left it until the last day of the transfer window to try and sort this stuff out, because all it takes is someone to pull the rug out from under you. And this is typical Arsenal, let's be honest. They love doing things that wind up Manchester United, and it's exactly what they've done this time. It wouldn't surprise me if they've just put a bid in just so that City and them could go, come on, we can get more money out of them. Let's have them, the little bleeders. And that wouldn't surprise me at all. But we're fighting with Arsenal, as truth puts there, over Chloe Kelly. And I'm still waiting for somebody to tell me what she's done since that back heel, because she's not been, for me, the biggest name of them all. Now, I was fully ready to have to come on here and go, look, I'm not going to be like people were when Keats came to the club and just completely slate her and say that she's going to be no good. I absolutely would have supported her if she'd have come to the club, and she still might. But a half-season loan just feels like the most ridiculous and unnecessary thing. We could bring Emma Watson back. She's played right wing before if we really need to. I mean, as long as we don't see Ella Toon over there, I think I'll be all right, to be honest. But this is again part of the issue with not having a proper right wing back. So we can't even say we could push Jade forward if we needed to at certain points. We can't do any of that because our only other option on the right wing is Aoife Mannion, and that's not gonna do it. So from a logistical point of view, she might be the only option we've got. Hence why we're sitting there thinking about doing an improved offer. But have my thoughts and opinions on her changed? No, they haven't. But if she pulls on a Manchester United shirt, you're not going to get any negativity from me. She'll be Chloe Kelly. In fact, if she pulls on a Manchester United shirt, she'll be the best lioness since Ella Toon. And there won't be, because that's how football fandom works. But at this moment in time, she's not. I'd be annoyed if she went to Arsenal. More so because of the fact that, that just seems to show that we are a better side than Arsenal, because otherwise, why would you accept their bid and not ours? So it feels to us like maybe they're more worried about us than they are about Arsenal. Or maybe they're just upset because we blocked them the other night and they haven't got over that yet.
I think there's just so many moving parts here, and there's so many of you commenting and watching. I appreciate all of you in the chat at the moment. But there's so many moving parts here. I think United need a winger, because it's unclear as whether Geyse is going to be back for the second half of the season, or if indeed when she's going to be back. So there's two parts there. I know there's a lot of questions about Geyse. Don't worry, I'll come back to her. I do find this quite funny. I'm going to share my screen a lot during this, but our friend of the channel, Rob, he sent me this and he's tweeted it now as well. But a quote from Chloe Kelly: "Leaving Arsenal was the best career decision I've ever made," and now potentially going back there. So
she's going to have to delete that, as well as her never much fun when we go OT Instagram caption, which if I was her, I would have kept. Because I hold my hands up to her. I thought that was really funny after the derby. I was like, yeah, do you know what? I can't actually argue with that. You've got to give credit where credit's due. She's going to have to delete this Arsenal thing as well.
Should be writing retractions and all sorts to get that article down. But this is the thing, right? And obviously that did we'll talk about that just very, very briefly, because I think it's a bit of a trivial thing, but it did cause a lot of drama on Twitter earlier when I got sent it quite a few times that Chloe Kelly deleted her post, about the Old Trafford thing. I can't remember what it exactly said. It was something like I never get much love at Old Trafford, or something like that, I think it was.
Connor, are you familiar? I just have to, interject quickly.
God.
Do you know the context, to that caption?
What
do you
know
that it's based on a song?
No, yeah.
Sorry. Jesus.
Can you believe it? 17 minutes into a show before Walsh, she's swearing on here.
I don't think we've had the F-bomb before. I think we had the brown stuff.
That is terrible.
That one. Oh, it's like a Offense to Men's channel. Look, people get upset now. They're like, wow, what's happened here? Michael's a fan, though. He's a bit of a fan of it. My innocent ears, exactly that.
Yes, wow. Unbelievable that.
Sorry, but Connor, the fact that that's based on a song lyric, that's the context. That's the context to the caption. Is that you clearly didn't? Yeah.
There we go. For those of you new watching, welcome. This is what you get on this channel. You're going to get some serious talk and some.
Sorry.
Some stuff like that. What were we talking about? Oh, that she deleted her post. And a lot of people took that as that she was moving to United. Georgia, I think I sent it to you first and was like, oh, she's deleted it. I can't remember what you said to me on Messenger, but any thoughts on that? Did you think at the time that meant that she was coming to United, the fact she deleted it, or did you just think she was getting quoted so much on that tweet that she maybe just felt like she had to?
I thought maybe it was definitely a step in the direction of her keeping her options open. Yeah, I mean, ideally, if you are going to move to a club, you probably don't want housery posts on your social media still. I did probably think it was leaning towards us. Not only that, then there was all the news reports and everything were all sort of tipping towards us, and then she deletes the post. So I did, yeah. But I mean, even if it's off her Instagram, we'll still remember it. I'm sure most of us are probably there to see it in person.
I think as well that moment, I'm going to call it a moment, was a big reason as to why United fans didn't want her in the first place, because of getting over that kind of rivalry of City and United and everything else. So you're not getting someone else to say it. Maybe if I'd have asked Keris that question, she may have just gone for it. But who knows? I agree. I just found it interesting, that she chose to delete that one on the day where the rumours of her joining United was so hot at the time. So yeah, I have just double checked, by the way. So the Arsenal kind of just backing up what has already been reported, but so I have heard. the deal is not done necessarily with Arsenal. There are still other options for her, United being one of them. So United are still very much in this. I call it it's so strange to call it a race for a player I don't necessarily want because it's so bizarre to me. It's a real interesting one. This is going to go on all night, I feel like. People have asked when the deadline is. The deadline's 11, but it is worth noting it doesn't have to be announced by 11. All it has to be is official paperwork has to be submitted by 11. They can do everything else, the medicals and the photos and everything else past then, tomorrow, whenever they feel like it. So it's only the paperwork and stuff like that has to go in. It was Keris's Garcia moment. It was exactly that. Kelly probably prefers United. Well, that was the story that came out earlier, that she wanted to stay in Manchester for, she didn't want to relocate and all of that kind of thing. Again, this backs up the thing of why would she then go to Arsenal? I mean, to be fair, she might not agree to this. Keris referenced her statement earlier. She might not want to go to Arsenal. City have accepted the loan bid. She's got to then sign a contract with Arsenal. If she doesn't do that, this move ain't going to happen. So, again, I think there's a lot at play here. I think her destination, she wants United. I think that's pretty obvious. Otherwise, she wouldn't have put that statement out yesterday. Almost trying to force it through. City don't want it to go to United, being direct rivals. But then, as you both said, it's Arsenal are still, they're maybe not a direct rival, but they're there fighting for the top three with City. Why would they want to strengthen them when the table is as tight as it is? I find this whole thing really bizarre. And it just leaves me with loads of questions. I mean, this is an Arsenal signing, not if there's any Arsenal fans watching this, whether they will be or not. This, to me, is a typical Arsenal signing. Very PR-y, very Arsenal, Lioness name, brings the crowds in, that kind of thing. But yeah, there's so many of your comments. I'm trying to read back through to see which ones to bring. City didn't want to strengthen the side they're fighting for third. This is what baffles me about this, that they've accepted Arsenal's and not ours. So clearly they see us as a bigger threat than, I think someone said this earlier, than what they do at Arsenal. Yeah, and I think that's it, Kian. There's still a long way to go with this. Kelly doesn't have to agree to it. City might have agreed this. Kelly doesn't have to, and in which case it won't happen. But, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. Barry, take it off me for a second while I just read through a couple of things trying to find out what's going on here.
This definitely wasn't in the script. It wasn't come along and fill in the gaps. That was not what I was prepared for. So I'm just going to sit here and say, genuinely though, who do you think Chloe Kelly was talking about when she put out that the club that I want to go to? Do you
United.
think that, so you think she's?
I'm convinced that was who she was talking about. And that's not based on anything, by the way. That's just like my opinion. Before today, the first thing that I have heard from any source about Arsenal being interested is this thing that's literally just come out that we've got on the bottom about City accepting an offer from Arsenal. Before that, it was what we'd heard was United and Brighton, and it felt to me like the logical conclusion that I drew was that the club would rather her go to Brighton because they're not a direct competitor for the top three, and she would rather go to United because, she lives in Manchester already. It's a better club. She doesn't have to move. She doesn't have to uproot her whole life. I think that she was talking about United when she put the statement out last night saying, I'm being dictated where I can and can't go.
And it makes sense for 6 months, wouldn't it, Georgia, to be honest? Because why would you want to move? Well, we say 6 months. It's not really, is it? It'll be over by May. So we're talking maybe 4 months. Does she really want to go and move all the way down there? Are they on the sort of wages where they can just hire out a hotel for 4 months and live in that? Is that even worthwhile? What do you reckon? Was you thinking that?
Well, when I was reading her social media post yesterday, I just assumed it was about us, and I think it still makes sense that it is about us. In terms of, City were quite openly unhappy that she might be coming to us, and that they didn't want to sell to us. And then she said, she's basically said, who are you to say or I can play? But as we said earlier, at the end of the day, she is under contract, so City are going to have a say. But again, if you're going somewhere for 6 months, it probably is easier to just stay at home. She can't live too far from United. And if it is just 6 months, and then by the sounds of it, she's going to reassess in the summer when she's a free agent.
But we're not talking about loads of money in the women's game. We've only just had the first $1 million transfer come through. So when they start talking about an improved offer, the wages are probably going to be covered no matter no matter which club it is, whether it's Arsenal, whether it's United. So are we literally now a case of it's just going to be about the loan fee more than anything else? Who's going to give more money for that? And do we really want to be getting into a bidding war with Arsenal over how much money Man City get? Because that technically only strengthens them, maybe not now, but certainly into the future.
I think just, sorry, I'm going to interject as well. Again, this is going to come down to, for me, how desperate United are together. Because if United really want this, which I believe they do now, to be honest, I think United are getting to the point where they need to get a winger in. As I said, we will go and talk about Geyse as well, because I think there is a bit of a like I said, a domino effect really here happening. That, you know, I just don't believe Geyse would be allowed to leave on loan, potentially more if we don't get a winger in, because that leaves us very short up top. You know, if we wanted to fight for the top three and for the FA Cup as well. So this is the thing, and you know, a lot of people have said Maze just said that Chloe might decline it, and that's the thing. Chloe can decline it, but then she's in a weird situation of, well, if City don't accept United's offer, then she's got nowhere to go, and she sits on City's bench for the next 4 months and potentially doesn't get into the Euro squad because of it, which is obviously what she really wants to do. So there's
that also makes City look stupid, Connor. If they sat there and said we've accepted Arsenal's one first, and then if they have to climb down and go, oh, she's gone to United, the fact that it's come out publicly, that feels to me like that's got to be a City move, surely. If she wants to come to United, she's not necessarily going to be wanting that to be thrown out there. So is that City just trying to play the game? Have we got another Ronaldo situation? Oh, City are going to get Ronaldo. Oh, look, he's at Man United. Are we at that sort of situation where clubs are being used? Tell us more, Elvis.
Do you know what I will do? Before I move on to a couple of other things, I will talk on a potential another winger and Geyse as well. What I will do, I'm going to throw the question to all of you. On the flip side, I'm trying to think of a player that maybe didn't get used as much, that he's actually quite good. Because Kelly is a decent enough player. You know, pre-Euro, she was good. And, you know, obviously around the Euro, she was good as well. She is a good player. We've maybe not seen that as much in recent weeks. So I'm trying to think of a player at United that we've had and flip the question around whether we would want to, as fans, accept a loan the other way, going to City. The only one I can really think of is potentially someone like Hayley Ladd or Avilda Borisa when she was at United, or somebody of that level. Would we, as fans, accept loaning them to City? Or would we as fans just want United to flat out reject everything that came our way from City? That's the kind of question I've got.
I think the thing to consider here is that even if she goes on loan, I think it's pretty clear now that loan, whether it continues at the club she's loaned to or continues elsewhere, I don't think she's going back to City at this point, right? Like if she goes,
did she confirm? Sorry,
yeah,
did she confirm that in her statement that she's going anyway?
She said she doesn't think her future is at the club. So, sorry, the comments are making me laugh. Jess's comment, but which we can't put on screen because I've already used up our profanity for the show. Sorry about that, by the way. But I think, you know, it's quite clear that wherever she goes, if she goes on loan now, it is basically a stopover to wherever her next destination is. She's not going back to City. I think in that situation, it becomes a bit easier, the idea of letting someone go to a rival. Like, it's still a very weird concept to me, the idea of a loan move between United and City. I can't think of an equivalent on the men's or the women's side. I'm sure Barry will correct me if I'm wrong, but I can't think of another time a player has been loaned between the two clubs. So it's a very foreign concept. Hayley Ladd, I don't think would have done it, to be honest. I don't think she would take a loan move to City, but that could just be me. I think, as from a sentimental point of view, as a United fan, if you were shown a player and you go, oh, would you loan City? I think sentimentally it's very difficult to say yes, right?
Yeah, I'd say so. Like, I used Ladd as an example. That was the first player that came to mind that maybe didn't get enough game time and then obviously has left recently. So that's why I said her. Georgia, would you accept a loan between United and City knowing that they would go at the end of it? What's your thoughts on that one? Or would you flat out reject it? Or?
I'd probably flat out reject it. Maybe there's an exception somewhere under some circumstance, but no, I don't think, if you're going to go at the end of the season anyway, I don't see why we need to be doing business with Man City. Block their email, block their number. Not interested in doing business with them, really.
You'd be great to work in the boardroom. Just block everyone. Just like, yeah, we don't need that network. Just block them. I wonder if clubs do that. I wonder if they get that annoyed with like a club rep or something when these deals are happening and they just go, no, I'm not speaking to them anymore. Just block the number for a few hours and completely cut it off. Because to be fair, if I was City right now and United were constantly on, oh, we can offer you this, we can offer you this, like keep going back and back for it. You know, eventually, if I'm City, I'm just like, will you just go away and stop offering us deals and things like that? But yeah, I don't know. Barry, would you allow it as a United fan, a loan from United to City, or would you just flat out reject anything that came our way?
I've got to be honest, I missed the beginning of the question, so I've listened to both of these answers being given, and I'm still not sure what they're actually answering. What's my role in this? Why am I having to accept anything? Am I in charge?
No, I'm putting the hypothetical out because I'm trying to imagine what City fans are looking at this right now in terms of Kelly to United potentially. As United fans, if we had a player that we knew was potentially leaving, you know, come the summer, and City were desperate for her, would you want us to
go to City, but she wasn't going to necessarily stay at City?
Yeah. So would you, if you were United or a fan, like, would you want that to happen? Would you just say no to everything? What would your kind of thing be there?
No, I can't think of a reason why I'd really want them to go to Man City. Not for a loan, like you say, because they're going at the end. It just seems really silly. So I don't think I would. So I can listen. I understand it from City's point of view. Like, why would you? It's horrible, horrible, horrible stuff. You think like Tevez in the men's game, he went off and it was loading all over the place. That was a dodgy deal, wasn't it, with all the things and the way he was bought. That was
George's face when you only had to mention Tevez.
That was Glazenomics of the highest variety, that wasn't it? Crikey. But I just don't think there's no sense because of the fact they're leaving at the end of the season anyway. We did with Russo. She was going to go to Arsenal. That was the thing. We just went, no, we're not giving you to Arsenal. End of story. And this is why I said the thing that I said about Chloe Kelly. You don't have the right as a player. You signed a contract. Your contract is till a certain date. And so it's probably not the sort of thing you should say on a women's football show, but you are the property of the club until that contract ends. That is the way the contract works, unfortunately. Whether we like it or we don't, they have the say over your future. Yes, there's ways and means in which you go about that. You should get some decent, conversations going with the people that you're working with. Of course you should. And that doesn't mean it's got to be all dictatorial about it. But no, again, we're fighting for them in the top three. And the way I'd word that is what they're probably thinking. And to me, it's reasonable, which is why I can't understand why they've allowed it from Arsenal. Let's imagine now they're getting towards the end of the season and Arsenal just need one win to finish third and City will finish fourth. And Chloe Kelly goes and scores that goal, don't look great, does it? So for that reason, I'm out. No, I wouldn't.
Do you know what? You've just painted a picture. I don't know. I'm not going to say it because I don't want to put it into the universe, but we obviously play Arsenal on the last game of the season. I'm not saying any more than that. I'm not putting that anywhere into the universe. But yeah, just now, yes, Catherine has also reported this as well, that obviously United are still working. I don't know how this is going to work. I can't lie. But like I said, we'll wait and see. Here we go.
To be fair, if Chloe Kelly does go, we'll know how much she wants to come to Manchester United by which end she puts the ball into.
That's a good point. That's a very good point.
There's also the point that we play City on City on what the 4th of May is, isn't it? So like you said, Connor, if we were to sign her on loan, let's just all consider that she can't play in that game. You unless I'm mistaken, there's a different regulation in the WSL than to what we're used to, but I would imagine it would be the same, that she will not be able to play against her parent club in the league. So that's a key game for us at the end of the day, right? That's likely to be very, very important in the race for Champions League. So in terms of value, signing a very expensive winger on loan who cannot play in one of your key games and potentially more in the FA Cup if we were to come up against City then. And like Rachel's right in what she's saying in the chat, like they would write that in. They'd be very silly not to have. They would be very silly not to write in a clause that says she couldn't play against them for the rest of the season. So in considering like what actually our best options are in terms of a winger on loan, from that logistical point of view, I'm not convinced that Chloe Kelly is the best option.
Yeah, so this whole idea, it would, people saying we'd have to get her permanently now if we want to force City's hand and allow us to have that. But why would we want it? Why would we want to do that? I think it's mad. She's not a long-term solution to me. What is going on with her hand? Are you all right?
I was going to say, what's going on?
I was about to interrupt you, but I'd already interrupted you.
All right, Kerry, you can.
Because the idea of getting her on a permanent transfer when her contract expires in the summer, to me, seems very short-sighted. And I cannot imagine that, because we've made it clear that we are in pursuit of this player now, they are going to charge us a lot of money for the privilege of signing a winger who would be out of contract in 5 months. I think that would be a crazy, crazy move.
Could you not make the argument that's what they're doing? Trying to up the price. Can we get a little bit from United?
Could you not make the argument with like Kira Walsh, and these players are out of contract. Chelsea have still gone, well, screw that.
Well, yeah, the thing is that's Chelsea and that's Kira Walsh. Like, do you know what I mean? Chelsea are basically in the situation. This isn't a Chelsea show, but like the amount of money that they have spent in this window is mind-boggling for women's football. The players that they have signed, one of those players in 2 transfer windows would be the biggest story. They have signed both Naomi Girma and Kira Walsh. Like, yeah, it's not a show about Chelsea, but I think that's the sort of difference, I think, when you look at the clubs, and like there's a serious point to be made about how we're behaving in the transfer market. For it to be 7:41 and the deadline is at 11 o'clock, and we've signed Kayla Rendell, who's a great keeper. I'm not knocking that signing at all, but Chelsea have signed Naomi Girma. It looks like Kira Walsh, and we are waiting to see if we can potentially get Chloe Kelly on loan, is not a great reflection on the way that we're conducting business, I would say. Obviously, I don't know what goes on behind the scenes, but if you compare the deals that have been done by this point in the window, it just demonstrates the gap.
I think so. This kind of ties in a little bit. So what you just said there about why we're leaving this so late, so that ties into the Geyse bit a little bit. I do kind of want to quickly bring that in. So my understanding of it is that we weren't actually going to go for a winger as such this month. Obviously, the Geyse, tragedy she's had in her family has brought this forward, that we don't know when she's going to be back. She might not be back at all. There is a potential loan that we've already reported. I'm keeping an eye on that, whether that goes through as well. There's a couple of clubs in America looking at her, because obviously with her being in Brazil at the moment, wanting to stay that side of the Atlantic, would make more sense to her being closer to home. Now, what will happen there, I don't know, because again, that's still up in the air a little bit. I'm hoping to get an update on that pretty soon, so stay tuned. In about 5-10 minutes, I'm hoping to potentially have an update on that one. But so when we're looking at her, that's why I think we're so desperate now, because we don't know what's going to happen with Geyse, whether a loan was beneficial for her. If it's not loaned, if Geyse isn't loaned, for example, if she stays, she's still going to be in Brazil for, I would imagine, a couple more weeks at the very least. So that's a few more games she's missing. So there is that as well. So I can understand the club now looking at this. I do believe that we have tried for other wingers this window and been unsuccessful in that. And now, obviously, Kelly is almost like the last resort. Not last resort, but the last option of the window. I think it's a bit too late now to be going for other wingers, and we've kind of got to a point where this is our only option. If we want to get a winger this window, it's going to have to be Kelly, and I can see us throwing a lot of money at this to try and get something over the line. Because as I said a second ago, I don't know what's going to happen with Geyse, whether she is going to be back anytime soon, loan or not. It could be a couple more weeks, a couple more months before she's even back at United anyway. So I can understand why we want to do this. But again, we're in a real tough situation now. As a lot of people are saying in the chat, I will update the ticker in a second, because obviously it's been heavily reported now that the United are working on an improved offer on that. Have we spoke about this? We did briefly speak on whether it would be permanent or not. a bit earlier on. I'm going to forget a lot of things, excuse me. But that's the only way. I think someone just put it in the chat. That's the only way I can see us getting Kelly right now. I don't think they're going to accept a loan because it just benefits nobody, really. I can see City maybe accepting a high offer from United. If we put the money on the table, and when I say that, I mean overpay, I can see City accepting that, and we might see something happen. You are right. Julie Brand is right there, and she's already announced she's leaving as well come the summer. So that is somebody we could try, but I think again we've left that too late. And what I probably understand of that is that that's more of a summer target. And this just goes back to a little bit United being a bit too slow to act. You know, if this is a summer target for us, Julie Brand. If this is Chelsea, I hate using Chelsea as a good example, but if this is Chelsea, they go out and get her. They don't wait until the summer until she's free. They'll just pay the fee and get her now, as we're now seeing with other players that they're buying. So that's my one frustration, is that we might miss out on a couple of targets. We're just waiting, just taking a little bit too long. But we'll wait and see on that one. I want to quickly, hang on. What's high offer? What are you thinking? 300,000? Definitely more than Bizet at 60,000. I mean, again, women's football, it's hard to value. And Chelsea have completely smashed the valuation of players out the water in recent weeks anyway. So it's hard to value what players are actually worth at the moment because the market is fluctuating all over the place. But I don't think your figure is going to be too far away from a permanent offer that United could potentially do as well. So we'll wait and see. As I said, someone asked earlier on, how long is this show going to be? Are we going till 11? We weren't planning on that. I don't know what's going to happen. Me and Barry could just be me. I could just be on my own.
Funny, Connor's gone full Jim White here, isn't he? Where's the tie, Connor? He's gone full Jim White.
Do you know what? I actually looked for a yellow tie. I don't have one. I do have a tie. It's over there. Maybe I'll get it for the second half of the show. I'll get on that one. Bedtime is 9 p.m. Well, should we bring you in, Jess? Because you're currently sat backstage waiting to come on. Let's get her in. Let's make this a 5-person panel. How are you, Jess?
Hello. I'm good. Yes, I have been watching the show. It's wild out there. Absolutely wild. Like, what a time to be alive, and maybe not in a good way either. Like, I am stressed. I feel like I've been through all of the emotions for someone that I didn't really want at the club. Hi, I'm here.
I can't believe we didn't get this.
That's not me.
I know.
I was thinking actually.
Is that Aaron?
No, it might be. He is supposed to be at rugby, but that's not to say that he's not actually just sat in a car park somewhere watching it on his phone. Yeah. I think he should be, to be honest, for my big appearance, but you know.
Maybe. Jess, what's your thoughts on it? You said you were stressed. Just very quickly before we go around the panel, look about it. Have you got thoughts on this? What's your thoughts right now?
I don't know what thoughts I have. It's a mess. So I feel like it's been a long couple of weeks from when she was first mentioned to now. My thoughts have changed a lot. Like, at first I was like, we don't need her. She's not going to replace anyone. Like, she is good, but isn't better than anyone we've got. Then I saw that Geyse was potentially going to go and she was going to come in, and I was like, why are we getting rid of Geyse? And then it was like, Geyse wants to go be near her family, and I was like, fair enough, I cannot argue with that at all. If I was her, I would be the exact same. And then I was like, okay, maybe we need her then, because, you know, like TikTok, it's deadline day. And then I'd just come around to the idea of, okay, it won't be so bad. And then Arsenal appear. And I'm just like, girl, what? Peak Arsenal, that, but also peak United to be panicking. Like, is there anything more United than overpaying for someone that we're not 100% sure we need on deadline day? That's for the men and the women's team. It is our club ethos. When they talk about the whole, like, one team thing, this is what they mean. This is what they mean by one team. The men panic buy, and so do the women. We don't get any of the good stuff. We only get the bad stuff, the panic buying. And yeah, Arsenal being drawn to a blonde lioness. It was inevitable, really. We should have actually thought about this sooner.
I knew there's a reason we got you on the show. Tactical insight like that. Proper insight.
Well, I just think, like, yeah, it's obvious. United are panicking. and Arsenal love a bit of like PR and blonde lionesses. Like, we actually should have figured this out a lot sooner. It shouldn't be such a surprise to us. But
I mean,
still,
Arsenal were looking at it. I'm pretty sure it was last summer there was talk of this. Like Arsenal haven't necessarily. They've come from nowhere this window, but last summer when Kelly, I think PSG were kind of floating about. Arsenal were in the conversation at that point anyway. I want to quickly just bring this comment up because this is a belting comment and an interesting discussion point. Sorry if this offends, but she's better than. I'm assuming you're on about Kelly there. Or Hughley, but you were talking about Hughley Brandt a second ago. So I don't know. I'm assuming you're talking about Kelly because you said sorry if this offends. Georgia? Go on. You've been quiet for the last 5-10 minutes. You want to kick us off on this one? Do you agree with that, or do you not?
I don't think I want to agree with it. I don't know. I'm going to say no. I don't think she's better than Galton. I still think that even if Geyse goes on loan and Kelly comes in, she would be our 4th best winger. Kelly, not Galton, as in Kelly would be the 4th best winger. And in current form, Kelly hasn't really got any. She hasn't played much football. So I'm going to stick with no. I go with Galton.
Go on, Barry. You looked particularly shocked.
It's a bit bloody rude, Connor. I was counting there.
I can come back to you if you want to carry on your counting.
31. I was just going to say, because I've seen a few people say, Chloe Kelly, she's a goat. She's one of the most amazing. We need her. We're on a Champions League run. I mean, to be fair, we're on the Champions League run without her. So I thought I'd have a little look. So Chloe Kelly, since 2020, has scored 31 goals. Leah Galton, since 2020, has scored 26 from 9, 32 goals. So it's factually inaccurate. Leah Galton has actually got the word goat in her surname.
What's the game? I hate to be that guy, but how many games played is that?
Oh, for God's sake, you want everything, you didn't you?
Because you can score 30 in 40 games.
109 for Chloe Kelly.
I'm just saying,
109 for Chloe Kelly, 21, 49, 69, 73, 80, 100, 113 for Leah Galton.
Okay. So
that was impressive, Barry. I don't think I could do that.
I ain't a teacher for Chuffle.
That is true. But I don't think the argument is whether Chloe Kelly is better than any of our current wingers. Because to be honest, the truth is none of us know how she's playing at the moment because she's not been playing. This is the other point. Like, I do, based on what I've read, I do think there seems to be an element of she's fallen out of favour at City. But also, we don't know. Like, it could be that she's not been performing in training. We genuinely don't know. I know she played against Ipswich in the FA Cup. I haven't watched that game back, so I don't know how she's playing. But there is something that we haven't really spoken about here, which is there is a risk. There is an element of risk in signing a player who's not been playing recently, which is that we do not know what kind of form she's in. And like, regardless of your emotions, like I'm definitely fall in the category of sentimental fan where I don't like the idea of signing a City player. Like, you've got to hold your hands up and say, in form, she's an excellent player. We don't know whether she's in form, and we don't have that long left of the season, so we don't know if we've got time for her to find that form. If we would sign her on a loan, like, there's no guarantee she comes back into form by the time the season ends.
Yeah, I think I'm going to be that guy. And to be fair, Barry brought up stats. Lots also brought up stats. Last season, 23-24, Galton created 11, Kelly 51. So there's a big difference in terms of chances created there. I do agree. And she's also gone to say, Kelly had 10 goals and assists, Galton had 5. So if we're going off recent, as recent as last season, that's the number. Upped it 16 rather than 11.
On that one. Like, genuinely, listen, I'm going to say it louder for those at the back. Chloe Kelly has done nothing since a back heel that my nan could have scored, and she's dead. Just saying.
I didn't think you were going to go. I think this is somewhere in the middle. I think she's better than I think you're giving her credit for. I don't think she's as good as other fans think she is. I think it's somewhere in the middle. I'm always that guy. I'm always the neutral one, but I do think she is marginally better than Galton to a point, because I think there's stuff that Kelly can do that Galton can't. Vice versa, there's stuff that Galton can do that Kelly can't. So the comments found that quite funny. But I do think that there is a good player in there, but I think Keris has made a really good point that we don't know whether she's in form or not, because she's hardly been playing. And it's really annoying that City played her against Ipswich, because without that, we wouldn't have been having that whole conversation about it being cup tied. And then I actually look at this deal completely different, because then she could play in the FA Cup and it's different then. But because City had to bloody use her, but there we go. But
do you think they were thinking of that when they played her?
I think they've done that on purpose, to be honest.
You reckon? Well, because the thing she started, she didn't come off the bat. I was looking earlier when I was writing about it. Like she did start that game.
If you want to sell something, you put it in the window, don't you? You know, you advertise it to the audience.
Fourth round tie against Ipswich, the window.
It's better than
the window.
It's better than still stuck in the garage.
This is true if we're going that metaphorical. But yeah, no, but there's also the argument that they've devalued her to other WSL clubs that would be coming in because she now cannot play. She's now cup tied, right, for the FA Cup. So there's two sides to it. On one hand, they've showed her off a little bit. On the other hand, they've made her inherently less valuable for a loan until the end of the season by ruling her out of the competition. So I don't know.
I like that.
I know it wasn't a back heel. I know it was a toe poke. All right. I was getting a bit excited over what I knew I was about to say. I've said it again. We can keep saying it. We know full well that if it's depth you're after, my point is just she's not better than anything we've already got. I've said that since the start. So it's not an issue as to whether or not she could fit in, whether she could be used, whether it's for any of that. It's just she's not better. And surely, if we've learned anything from where we are at the moment and the things that we've done in previous transfer windows, we want to be improving on what we've got. Otherwise, we're just maintaining a level. If we're going to try and bridge that gap between Chelsea and ourselves, we've got to be getting in players that are better than the ones that we currently have.
Yeah, well, I think that's how you improve a squad by doing that. So I do agree. I just want to give you a quick update. Sky Sports have updated their little piece. It's not too much of an update, but they have just kind of confirmed United have spent all day working on both loan and permanent deals for Kelly. So it is confirmation that United have been working on a permanent one as well. City have accepted Arsenal's loan offer, but do not want to let her join their. They've put in in their rivals United, which obviously makes sense. And it follows on. Say if Kelly were to join United. Get me words out. If Kelly were to join Arsenal on loan, United will have the opportunity to sign Kelly on a free transfer in the summer. So kind of just confirming that we said a bit earlier on that United have worked on a permanent deal as well as a loan, kind of further, I guess, emphasizing the fact that United want to get this deal done just to get a winger through the door, essentially. But as I said, this is going to be a long night. And this is the thing, JJ, this is where I don't buy City's argument. When they're talking about United being the rival, and yes, obviously, but Arsenal is still a rival to them in terms of the league. You don't strengthen teams around you. So I can understand her turning us down, or not her, but the club. But yeah, and also, like I said, I don't think Kelly's going to accept this Arsenal offer. I really don't. I think this is going to drag on. I think we're going to be here all night. Not these guys. These guys got lives. They'll probably go off. I have a feeling I'm going to be sat here until 11 o'clock.
I've got the men's game on the other half of the screen and my match report for it in another tab, Connor. So I'm here. If we're doing this, then let's do it.
There we go. But I will just say, we said this earlier in the show, and Jess, I'll come back to you because you've been quiet for a brief second. Would you have thought, you've watched women's football for a while, you've been involved in it and everything else, so we'd be sat here at a time where we've got Walsh going to Chelsea, potentially, obviously waiting for that to be confirmed. We've got Kelly potentially going to Arsenal or back to Arsenal, and United are fighting over her. We've got all these things going on. Would you have envisaged it, even going back a month ago, would you have envisaged Kelly ever coming to United?
No, literally not once, especially after her Old Trafford post, which I think it was Keris was saying earlier that like sort of respected her for it. Like I did as well. Like we were beefing City all game. The fact that she turned around to like shush the United fans, I was like, fair play. Like, and I saw the post on Instagram or whatever, and I was like, that is annoying as hell, but I rate it. Like, if I was not a United fan, or if someone had done that, you know, if it was like a London derby, I would be liking the hell out of that post just because funny. So no, she would have, her and maybe, is it Kasparai who gave it the V's? Those two would be like bottom of my list of potential City to United transfers. Not that I think I would ever think that any player could really move between those clubs, but those two would definitely be sort of on the bottom of my list. Obviously, like I said, I've sort of tried to warm to the idea because in the last couple of weeks, I've just been like, okay, this is actually going to happen. And then today with the post that Chloe herself put out and the deletion of the OT post, I was like, right, well, that's it. She's got to be coming to United. But I think it's, as a new, like if you looked at this as a neutral, like this is so exciting. You know, this transfer window has been insane. Chelsea just are ridiculous, like absolutely insane, buying everyone. You know, we've hit the $1 million transfer, which I think we all knew was coming, but wasn't necessarily sure it was going to happen in January. You know, Januaries tend to be mostly low key. So this is just wild, to be honest. And as much as it's been very stressful today, it is quite enjoyable. You know, look at all the stuff we've been able to talk about. This show wasn't exactly pre-planned, you know, from like a few days in advance. This was today. Connor, you saying, guys, do you think we should actually like, you know, hop on tonight to discuss
at 4:30, I must add.
Yeah.
That's how quick we turn this around.
And me kind of thinking, yeah, probably actually. I'm not doing anything. Okay, I will join. But how great is that? You know, because last year we wouldn't have had anything to talk about, particularly on deadline day. There wasn't anything that exciting happening. Now you've got Kira Walsh coming back to England to go to Chelsea. Again, Chelsea just buying everyone. Players rumoured to be leaving left, right and centre. This whole debacle with Chloe Kelly, which it just actually at this point, even though Arsenal have put in, or it's Arsenal's offer have been accepted, we still can't say for sure it's going to happen. You know, normally this would be, she's going to Arsenal, that's it. But it's not. Like, United still are heavily involved in this. If, like you were saying, she doesn't want to go down south, she wants to stay in Manchester, it is very likely she's going to reject this. So truly a great day for women's football as a whole, and a stressful day for Manchester United, Manchester City and Arsenal fans probably.
No, absolutely. We have just had a quick update from Emma Sanders that saying about this doesn't rule out potential improved or matching offers from other clubs. But she has added that, but I'm being told there's a general feeling at Manchester United that this is now unlikely, given City's hesitance to do business with them. So I would take from that this is probably not going to happen now. And we move on.
Someone's already updated the Wikipedia page to say Arsenal on loan 2025.
There we go. But
so if we move on, then what are we looking at now? Because if Geyse does go on loan, that does leave us with one right.
Should we move on to Geyse? So
yeah,
if I just, for those of you who don't follow our Twitter/X account, so we broke the story yesterday. That if a deal for Kelly was agreed, that the likelihood is Geyse would go on loan. As I said earlier, there's a couple of NWSL clubs that I'm aware of that are looking at her. I put a little clarification to it earlier because I know there's a lot going about, and you can believe what you want. I'm not saying you have to believe everything we tweet or post out or anything else. This is just what we've heard. My understanding, or the channel's understanding, essentially, is that there's still a possibility that she goes on loan, Kelly deal or not. This is not being forced in any way. It's not a case of we want Kelly, so Geyse, you've got to go. It's nothing to do with that. This was spoken about before Kelly even became up in conversation. So that's the next one to keep an eye on. And I want to. This is obviously a I guess, a sensitive topic to talk about with obviously Geyse's current situation. So I want to kind of go around the panel. George, I'll start with you because I'm conscious you've probably got to shoot off in a second. You're on taxi duties again. So I'll come to you first. With the reasons that we potentially know that this is, that, you know, obviously she's currently in Brazil at the moment with her family. We expect that is the reason why that she wants a potential loan over in the end of her sale. We'll wait and see whether one goes through or not. What do you think then in terms of from a United point? Because there's a couple of things here. Obviously, from Geyse's point of view, being close to home potentially over there would obviously be beneficial to her. But from a United footballing point of view, that does leave us a bit light if we can't get a winger in. Is that kind of how you look at it? Do you think we need a winger? Would you be asking Geyse to stay and come back to England? What's your thoughts around all of this one?
I wouldn't be asking Geyse to stay. I think some things are bigger than football, and, you know, whatever she needs to do right now for her and her family, I think is the best decision for her. Obviously, from a United footballing point of view, her going out on loan without us getting another winger in isn't ideal numbers wise, but we do, you know, we do have other players in the squad that can play out on the wing. You know, Miyazawa plays in the front line for, not that I'm suggesting taking her out of midfield at all. I think she's been incredible in the middle. You know, worst comes to the worst. Again, not ideal, not that I'd want to do it, but pulling Emma Watson back from loan is also another option. Again, not ideal. She's getting a lot of playing time there and valuable minutes. But no, it does leave us short of a winger with, obviously, Bizet's been incredible, but, you know, injuries do happen and are obviously more likely to happen if she has to play every minute on that right wing for us. Ideally, we get another winger in tonight. I'm not sure if that, what is the time? 8:05. Not sure that's probably going to happen. But no, I think Geyse needs to do what Geyse needs to do, and hopefully the club, you know, can support her through that. Like Jess said when she came on, if it was me, I'd be the exact same. Awful things that have obviously happened, and yeah, we should be looking at a winger, but obviously it doesn't look like Kelly's going to happen now for multiple reasons, Arsenal being one of them. And yeah, we'll be fine. There's players that can play there, but yeah.
Yeah, I think you make some interesting points. If you do just drop off, by the way, we won't take any offence to it. That, you know, if someone's mid saying something, you just suddenly disappear. It's no offence to the person that's talking at the time. Sporty asked the question. You know, looking at home or abroad for alternatives. To be honest, I've not heard of anyone else other than the one that we went for early in the window, which I hope you can appreciate. I can't say just yet. I'm going to wait for the deadline, and I'll potentially say it tomorrow. But at the time being, I'm not aware of anyone else. So this is why I say the Kelly one was important from that point of view. If Geyse is to go, like I said, Geyse might still come back to England. No loan, as far as I'm aware, has been agreed anyway. So she still can come back. But as I said, I don't know in what potential mindset. And also at the moment, I don't know how long that's going to be. Because like I said, that could be weeks, months before she comes back anyway. In which case... in worst case, we go to a back five. To be fair, I advocate for a back five. We've also had an update. This is not really United related. I'm sorry, like I said, I keep looking at my phone. Emma Sanders has clarified something or added some context that Laura Wienreuter might be going the other way in this Arsenal Kelly deal, are also on loan as well. So it's all going on with that one. But there we go. So City potentially getting a defender in, which obviously they need, and Kelly going that way. Now that to me now makes more sense. If that's the thing there. Right, back to Geyse and what we're just saying now. I'll go around each of you on this one then. Keris, your thoughts on what I asked Georgia a second ago?
Yeah, I think I agree with Georgia. I think so. You know, you can call it's sentimental, you can call it whatever, but I do think some things are bigger than football. Like, there's not many jobs where, granted, there's not many jobs where you paid as much as professional footballers, but there's not many jobs where you'd be expected to stay on a different continent to your family in the wake of a tragedy like that. So I think that's what's most important in this situation. But it does leave us in a difficult spot, obviously. And this is why I think it would have been better if we'd thought of this earlier, because if what you'd say is true, we've been thinking about, Geyse potentially going out on loan or not coming back for a little while. It's just frustrating that we've left it until this late in the window, and that's not her fault at all. Her job and football will be the last thing on her mind right now. And I think particularly we need to think of, for example, Ella Toone spoke very emotionally and very impactfully in her piece for Players Tribune about the impact losing her dad had on her, how she didn't take time out, and how she thought maybe in hindsight that would have been a better thing to do, was what I kind of got from that piece that was published the other day. I think, empathy is really important in these situations when we're thinking about players' transfer situations. The club is not foremost in their minds, and sometimes it shouldn't be. So if she wants to go on loan to be closer to her family, then that's something that I think makes a lot of sense. But it's just then a question of what can the club do to mitigate the impact of that, basically. And that's when I really wish that we had moved just a tiny bit quicker than relying on a deal for Chloe Kelly on deadline day.
Yeah, and that's the thing, whether it's going to come back to bite us a little bit. And like I said, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm hoping to have an update on this pretty soon. Apologies. I'm trying to see what that is. Okay, no, that doesn't matter too much. So Kelly has asked. It does seem that way. It does seem like I'll have to update the thumbnail when I come off here, I think. And this is potentially going to be a shorter show because, like I said, I didn't mean to bring that one up. So I don't think there's loads for us to go through after this, unless something happens in the next kind of half an hour or so. We can all go off and enjoy the men's game, I think, after this. I say enjoy the men's game like that happens. But there we go. Barry, Jess, anything really to add on what these two have said on a potential there? And like I said, I will caveat that by saying again, it's a potential. Some people read these things and say that it's definitely happening. That's not the case. I said potential for a reason, and look at these things. But anything to add here?
I've not got a great deal to add. I think what I said when I first came on, if I was in that position, I would want to do like whatever was best for me and my family. Basically, I think with, like Kerry said, with the whole Tooney interview she's just done, I think it's very prevalent in everyone's minds, like how important it is basically to have time off. Like I've been there, I lost my dad, and then I don't know whether it's just football and dads or what, but you try and go back and it ain't quite the same. So I think she's got to do what's best for her. And if that means that she leaves and goes on loan for 6 months for the rest of the season, fine. Even if that left us with no wingers, I'd just be like, fine. Do you know what? It doesn't matter. We'll make do. We'll put a training cone there or something. It doesn't matter. I'd just say the only thing that this really shows us is kind of like the difference between where we are and like Chelsea, for example. I think, Connor, you mentioned it earlier. If this is Chelsea, they've already got another player. Different situation, but when Sam Kerr did her ACL, they immediately went out and broke the bank for Ramirez without hesitation, because they kind of are always looking like 10 steps ahead. So they can kind of foresee these issues. And I know this is difficult. It's a different situation, and we don't know exactly what Geyse is going to do. But I think it's one of those situations where if we are a Chelsea, we have already got a player in, because we've planned ahead. There's contingency plans all the time. They're proactive, not reactive. We are very much reactive. And again, that goes back to the whole club. That's the women and the men. And that, again, is something we've seen for years, really, on deadline day. We only go for players sort of a panic buy last minute or to stop our rivals from getting them for some unknown reason. We don't sit before the window's even open. I don't think anyone sits there and goes, okay, where have we got holes? Where do we see like potential danger? And then even during the window, when everything happened with Jason, her brother, unfortunately, like no one would have thought, okay, we need a backup plan. This is really, really sad. This is a horrendous situation, but it's the transfer window right now. We need a backup plan right now. We need to be proactive. And I don't think anyone thinks that way. And it might be fine. We might get through the season absolutely fine. But I think as a club, we just need to be a little bit more proactive and have depth. I know we all take the mick out of Chelsea and their 3,000 players they've got, but a situation like this would never happen to them because they've always got backups. And I think we do need to be a little bit more like that.
Yeah, I think Jess has said some pretty reasonable things there. I think in a situation like this, the only way you can be guided is, Geyse isn't going to be ready until she's ready. And it's a tricky one. You need to take it away from football, just stick it into normal everyday life because, it's happened to Geyse and it's very high profile, but this happens to people across the country, day in, day out. It's a horrible situation. And so as a result, you have to look at it as, this is her job. This is something that she does. But all jobs nowadays have well-being, you would hope, at the centre of what they're doing. And I suppose my big worry is that at the moment it's raw. So as it's raw, she probably is feeling that she wants the comfort and the love of her family around her. And I would argue that if she's not really thinking about football too much at the moment, then putting her on loan isn't necessarily the right thing to do. The problem that the only reason we would think of putting her on loan is because Sir Jim Ratcliffe likes to save, he don't want any moths coming out of his wallet like he usually has. So he'd probably not be interested in paying her to, get better and heal emotionally in the way that she would need to. So by putting her on loan, it takes her off of the wage bill. And that's the thing that I'm thinking there. But equally, I think it would be nice if we still had her, because in March, she might decide that actually, yes, I do want to come back and I am ready and I do feel like I want to try this. And, she's not out of contract, I don't think, at the end of the year, is she? End of the season? No. So, there's still the opportunity that she might want to. It would then depend on, her relationship at the club and how she feels. And she seemed like a really big part of it, actually, a massive part of Manchester United this season. I think she's really worked hard at doing that. I know Ian, he may not know who exactly she is, but he doesn't need to. He'd have asked the bottom line, how much we paying her. That's all he's going to care about. If he's sacking Sally Jenkins in finance, I'm pretty sure he'll be thinking the same sort of thing about Jay's on right wing. He's that sort of bloke. What's that? Hot chocolate? Sod the Cadbury's, get the Stockwells in. That's the type of guy he is. We all know that. So I think that's the thing for me, is that my worry is it just too raw at the moment? And we're not really DC, right? And I think that's the bit we need to look at. That's the bit that I would hope would be okay. So I don't particularly want her to go, and how easy it is to get a loan to Brazil. I don't know if the window's still open longer for that. Does that have to be sorted by 11 o'clock tonight, or is the ability to do the loan to Brazil a bit longer? Because obviously different countries have different rules and things. So maybe that's possible. And if that's the case, then if that's what she needs, fair play, because even if she's on loan, we can still recall her, which brings us back to the other thing. Just bring back Emma Watson. We've got people that can play, but we're sending them out to other clubs all the time. Well, this is why you have youngsters, to give them that opportunity. So I think the fans would be a lot more forgiving of bringing in someone like Emma Watson and giving her the opportunity than they would be of bringing in a brand new person like a Chloe Kelly who doesn't cut the mustard. So, it is a drama. It's not nice. We do need to be a bit more proactive. We knew that this had happened to Jay's weeks ago. So we needed to be looking at that point, what if? And there was no what if. And this is where we are.
Yeah, I think I would agree in any other context with Emma Watson if we had another manager in charge, because I just don't think Mark would play her. I think we'd recall her and just have her on the bench as an option. So I would keep her on loan for now anyway, just because she's doing really well. She got player of the match, by the way, if anyone saw that yesterday, against Spurs in their FA Cup. Absolutely. And the nutmeg she pulled off in that game, by the way, we tweeted the video of that earlier. Go and watch that. But there we go.
We can't have that as a thing. Like, that in itself is a thing. Oh, we can't bring her back because the manager wouldn't play her. Well, then, I'm sorry. Maybe the transfer window that we need to have is to sack him out of it, because that's not the way it works. If you're not going to give the players a chance, don't bloody buy them.
Well, that's a whole other conversation. Well, we have had that on many occasions on here. But yeah, I want to come to Saf in just a second, but I want to quickly come to this because I have just seen a tweet. Look, all I will say, people can believe who they want to believe. People have their go-tos, who they think are credible and who they're not, and that's fine. That happens in every area of football. I can only say what I've heard. I know where this has come from, obviously, because it's come through me. So I can only say what it is. I don't. If you want to believe it or not, it's totally up to you. In terms of the context of what's going on, I've said repeatedly nothing was agreed, so she might not go on loan. But I can only repeat what we've heard. So yeah, it's up to you. What you want to believe, people will go to their credible people, and that's fine. But as I said, I would like to think our track record speaks for itself in that one. Barry, there we go. I love how it's Barry that gets it. Not fine.
It's fine. I don't think you're saying Barry we trust as in the information. They trust you for the information. I think they're trusting me for managing the women's team because I would give players chances rather than just mucking about on the touchline and having a go at players that have done well when they come off and score hat tricks and tell them what they could have done better. Moron.
I'd back you for manager one day. I reckon I could see that.
One day I'm 42. It better come.
Someone was backing me for the right wing earlier, so anything can happen.
There we go. Get Jess out of retirement as well.
I mean, I've been ill for quite a while, but I can run 5 minutes a day now, and I did do a Pilates class yesterday.
There you go, you're in.
I did get massively shown up by all the old ladies. I was the youngest person there by about 40 years. And let me say, I've not had DOMs this bad in so long. Like, obviously, I've not been doing any exercise. I've not been able to. But it feels like I have just done the world's hardest leg day. I have barely been able to walk with my calves, all from Pilates. So do you know what? Another week, get me up to running sort of like 7 to 8 minutes and put me on that wing. Be all right, I reckon.
What's that meme where it's like, put the contract on the table, let him write whatever he wants on it?
Yeah. I'll sign the thing right now.
And you can run 8 minutes.
Yes. Honestly, I think I'd do a good job. I've not kicked a ball in about 2 years, but I think it'd be fine.
Yeah, see, there we go. We're sorting transfers out on here. So this is quite a question game with Connor suit and tie live report from LSV when. Well, maybe we'll make that happen one day.
Was I the only one who, when Jess said there she couldn't walk with her calves, imagine Jess as a farmer?
Oh, like, yes. Sorry, I think you were probably the only one. However,
you would make a great farmer, Jess.
Thank you. Do you think?
I'm brilliant.
I'm not convinced. It's the early mornings. I'm still very groggy when I wake up in the morning. So getting out of bed at like 5 a.m. to go and milk a cow, that'd be rough. Let me tell you.
Tasty Cocoa Pops, though. Well,
that's true. Yeah, I do like cows, so that would be pretty cool.
There we go. Right, this should be a quick one, to be fair, and we'll probably look to wrap it up after this, to be honest. I don't think anything. I'm keeping an eye on to see if I'm trying to ask about to see if anything's going to come up. I don't think it is, if I'm being totally honest tonight. But we'll wait and see while I ask this question. Amelia asked about Saf. Now, this is a good point because it is a slow news day now. It's crazy how this has gone from mental to just nothing in the last however long. But Saf, a loan move. The reason why this is important is because Mark got asked about Saf a couple of weeks ago, or a week or so ago. And he gave an answer basically hinting that they were looking at loans for Saf. If the right one came back, then she would be loaned out because she needs to be playing. We're now 8:30 nearly on deadline day and still nothing necessarily reported on Saf. So it's probably looking likely that she's not going anywhere. So we've gone from a case of having 2 keepers now to having 3. And as we know, Fallon's probably going to play every game now, bar an injury, until the end of the season. So, Georgia, you're still here. I thought you were hopping off at 15:15. We're delighted you are, but I thought you were going at 15:15. But you're still here. Is your lift? When you're on taxi service, are they going to be waiting for you?
I've decided he can wait an extra 10 minutes. It's not in a dangerous area or anything. It'll be fine.
There we go. I'll ask you first then on Saf. Are you surprised that necessarily nothing has happened there? Or obviously, like I said, we're still waiting officially, but it's looking likely now she's still going to be a United keeper.
Yeah, I think it's a real shame for her. I expected her to go on loan this window. You know, I think giving young players minutes can be difficult anyway, let alone when you're a goalkeeper. You know, obviously we played her in the Newcastle game. But I think for her to get consistent minutes and really develop her skills as a goalkeeper, you know, stepping into a senior career, a loan move at some point, you know, or if not a loan move, you know, for her to play consistently, maybe a move away from the club is going to be important for her at some point, which I'd like to think we tried to get her a loan move this summer. Oh,
I don't know. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing.
That's thrown me right off.
As in Russo.
I'm assuming that's who Mia means.
Ouch.
I don't know any other Alessia spelt like that.
Yeah.
Just on Russo, did you know that it's Chinese New Year soon and we're moving into the year of the snake? So she's got her very own year.
I did see that.
Yeah, that's a good comment as well.
No, just to summarise, I think, yeah, alone and consistent minutes is going to be important for her development as a keeper. So I'm hoping that we tried to find her alone or...
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I think I've lost my train of thought. I think it's important for her to get minutes is what I'm going to end that on.
We've never had that.
Closed my eyes and I can hear it.
Can you? I can't.
I also can't. Also, someone in the chat just really confused me. JJ put this, and I read it as like the abbreviation Sir Alex Ferguson. And I thought, what? He's already been sacked. What's going on? We've been on air too long.
To be fair, what are we up to now? To be fair, this is still an average show length.
It feels like I've lived several lives since I first joined the studio backstage, to be honest. So.
Yeah, I agree. I spent like an hour or like 45 minutes watching and just going through many different stages of emotion, and then joined. And I feel like with all the news that's come out, I've changed what I wanted to say about 10 times. And now I'm just basically like Delulu, to be honest.
Has anyone got anything else to add on Saf, though? Yeah, the fact she's still
I think put her on the wing, maybe.
I was just say play a right wing. We've got an opening now.
I think it's really annoying for her that she's not gone, because she is not going to play. Like, we've brought in another keeper, so she should have gone on loan, because you can't just throw her on for like the last 10 minutes of a cup game. I can't stop laughing at these Russo things. By the way, I don't think you sound like Russo, because I think Russo, no offense to her, but also a little bit of offense, I think she sounds like a dry piece of toast. And I think her personality is a little bit dry piece of toast, whereas I don't feel that way about you, Georgia. So
thanks, I appreciate that.
Yeah, you're welcome. It's okay.
Buttered piece of toast, Georgia. Congratulations.
Yes, you are slightly more interesting. Maybe, yeah, a bit of Nutella on it, even.
I'd echo that. I think it's not the bit about the Nutella. I think it's actually really bad what's happened here with Saf, because she's gone from being the backup goalkeeper to being the backup to the backup, and she's not going to get any game time. Will she play for the reserves as such? No, she won't. So you're just sort of left in a bit of a limbo, and that's not great for her or her career. I think it's really quite poor. We could have found somewhere, whichever level that might be. I'm not sure she's going to learn too much, and as a result, not good for her. So no, it's the same old, isn't it? Same stuff, different day. That's just poor management for me. What's the point? And it stalls her career when it's not really necessarily needing it.
What will be interesting now is, because Saf has remained in the matchday squad and Kayla's not come in yet since she signed. What's going to be interesting now is if Saf does still stay, whether Saf will remain as the number 2 in the matchday squad, or whether Kayla will now come in, because my assumption was that they didn't want to remove Saf out of the matchday squad until she went out on loan, and obviously Kayla then just comes in and takes it. But if Saf is sticking around, then you are going to have to leave one of them out of the squad, unless you put 2 keepers on the bench, which some teams do. But it wouldn't be much point in that one. There we go. George is to do a tax a bit. To be fair, I've not got too much else to say. I don't think much more is coming tonight, if I'm being totally honest. This show has taken a big turn because I really didn't expect Arsenal to be coming in for Chloe Kelly and getting that done. And I don't really care whether she goes there or not, but it does look unlikely that she's coming to United now. And that's obviously the thing I do care about. Reed Geyse, again, I just don't think United will green light it now if we're not going to get another winger in. And I just think it's too late now to try for something else. That's not me saying something won't happen in this next 2 hours or 2.5 hours, but I will be surprised now if we get something. But what we have learned today is it's been a surprising day. So who knows? Yeah, literally, she deleted that tweet for no reason. After all that.
She's definitely unarchiving that as we speak. Like, I'm convinced.
If that comes back on, then we know that she's not coming here for sure. I think that's more what we should be basing our predictions.
You know what? I agree, and I would love it. I hope that if she does go to Arsenal, she unarchives that so it can live on forever, because I truly rate it from her.
I really respected it. Yeah,
I think Lots made a good point, though. You know, if Kelly hasn't accepted it, maybe she's holding out hope to come to her. And as I said, if United put down a monster offer in terms of a lot of money for a permanent deal, City might be tempted. But again, it really depends how much United want her. And I just don't think at the moment.
Do we want them to put down a monster offer, though? Because I personally don't. I don't think it's worth putting down crazy money for a player who we don't. I will not let's not be overly negative. We know she's an incredible player when she is in form, but we have no idea what kind of form she's in. Is it actually worth putting down a permanent offer for hundreds of thousands of pounds? I personally, for me, no.
Not when there's other targets for the summer that I would rather get over her. But again, there's no guarantee. To be fair, a lot of our targets, it will depend on Champions League and stuff like that. So whether we get that or not, obviously, because that's a big pull for players. So I think it's really going to depend on that. And we kind of see from there. But I don't know.
Just it's because the men's on. It has that effect on me. I'm just still really frustrated and annoyed about why it is that City seem hesitant to actually work with us on it. And it's not that I want them, but I don't understand. I don't understand the difference between Man United and Arsenal, really, in the grand schemes of the league table. I get it in terms of, the rivalry, the traditional rivalry and all of that sort of thing, and the optics. But, I mean, at this situation, to not even want to talk to you, it seems a bit mad.
Well, this is a good point. Sporty's made the point. Pre-contracts obviously do exist for clubs outside of your league, so European sides, and vice versa. That's one of the reasons why we extended Clinton, is to stop exactly that happening. Clubs outside the WSL from getting to it. So that's a player that I would be going for. And like I said, if it means, yep, exactly, Agent Janssen, get on the case for Hewley Brand. And that's kind of where I'm leaning towards. I'd rather wait, to be honest. Like Barry said earlier, we've got to second in the league with the squad we've currently got. So, barring any massive injuries to the team, I'm pretty happy with the 11 and the bench. I'm a little bit worried if we get 2 or 3 injuries in attack, then I think we're going to be weak. But that's the same for most teams. You get 2 or 3 bad injuries, the squad starts to look thin. So would I like another winger? Absolutely. I said that at the start of the window. Do I think it's an absolute necessity? I don't think so. I think I'd rather wait. I think there's bigger things there to be keeping an eye on. Apologies. Give me a second. Someone take over for a minute.
I will just start talking because I will say... Actually, no, I forgot what I was going to say. I was going to say I would not break the bank for a player that has barely been playing. I know we've already been through the conversation before I joined, where we sort of rate her. And I do think there is a good player in there, absolutely. But I don't think you break the bank and go absolute hell to leather for a player that's barely been getting any game time at her club. I think the risk is too great. However, I do think it would be a peak United thing to do to break the bank for a player that's barely been getting any game time, like 2 hours before the deadline. So,
yeah, I think I agree. And obviously, it goes without saying that if by some really weird miracle in 2.5 hours, Chloe Kelly does end up as a United player, then we'll back a player that is wearing the shirt and wish her all the best. But I would agree that I don't think it makes any sense to pay that much money for a player that I know we have had interest in a winger, but I don't. Our interest in her specifically, Mark Skinner's spoken a lot about if the right opportunity comes up in the transfer window. I don't think that she is I don't think she's like a perfect fit for the team or anything like that. Again, I'm happy to be proven wrong, but for me, it doesn't make sense to break the bank for a player that we're not sure about. And also, Rosa makes a really good point. I think this is absolutely a possibility. That would be a smart thing to do, and I think they will be absolutely thrilled to have 2 of their top 4 rivals currently playing off against each other for a player who is not even playing for them and is not in their plans. So yeah, that's my 2 pence.
And also, you add to that about the Vine Rother thing that has already been put out on Twitter. That's not necessarily anything to do with the fact that Kelly's going the other way at the moment. So they are, it seems, 2 very separate things at the minute.
Yeah, as I said, I think it's. I don't know. I've just double checked, and again, the stance is still the same. That United feel that this is going to be a real tough one to do, and a kind of. Yeah, the mood's very different. I've just checked with a couple of people. The mood when I spoke to them earlier was very much like, yeah, this can be done kind of attitude, and very clear. This now seems like it's very much just like, yeah, I don't expect too much on this one now. So I think
one of the City bigwigs has been watching the show, and they heard what Georgia said, and they've just blocked all of the numbers from the Man United lot, and so as a result, we can't get through to them, and we've just gone, well, that's it, then it's game over.
Potentially.
Actually, United have got. Do you remember the fax machine incident with De Gea all days ago? I think they've got that fax machine back out, and they're trying to fax a little letter across the Etihad, we want Kelly. But actually, they've not got it. Whereas Arsenal have just sent a quick email, yeah, we're keen. But yeah, our fax is still somewhere stuck in the ether.
Keris was shaking her head. I feel like you're too young to. Did you surely remember the De Gea fax thing?
When was it?
Oh God!
It's whenever De Gea nearly moved to Madrid, wasn't it? And the fax machine just too slow, isn't it?
Maybe
20 what?
2017, 2018, maybe.
Yeah.
So I will have been 13. Sorry, I didn't want to say it, but yeah, that's a little bit too far back for me.
Oh God!
But you must have heard that David De Gea was potentially on his way out.
Yeah, I knew he was potentially. I remember knowing that he was potentially moving, but I don't think my 13-year-old brain was really.
Were you even allowed on social media at that point? Did you even have a Twitter?
I didn't have Twitter. I might have been allowed an Instagram when I was allowed on my phone for half an hour a day.
God.
But
2015, there we go. We've had confidence.
Yeah, so at this point, I'm in primary school, right? So. Sorry, Jess.
It was 2015. I don't feel like that's an excuse.
Oh, good God.
I was going to say, I was in primary school when we signed Ronaldo, when we sold Ronaldo, to Madrid. I remember that vividly. I remember being told by one of the teachers, have you heard? I'm like, sorry, what? Breaking my heart in the middle of an English lesson.
One of my most vivid primary school memories was my year 5 teacher, who was a massive United fan. All the United fans in the class were coming up to him on the day that it was rumoured David Moyes was getting sacked. and we were coming up to him like, can you look on the computer? Can you look on the computer? Because obviously none of us like had phones at this stage, and he had to interrupt the lesson to tell us that David Moyes had been sacked. And we thought the men's side were going to be back to normal at that point.
Sorry, you were in, when were you?
I was leaving primary school. That was my last year in primary school.
In primary school.
I did the same when Mourinho left. I did tell everybody in the class that had happened, and we all had a little cheer. That was nice.
But I'm assuming you were there as the teacher, not as the child.
Obviously, I'm 42. None of this rubbish. But I'm constantly telling the kids they're wearing rubbish. You know, there was one kid today wearing an Arsenal shirt, brand new out of the packet. I'm like, oh, why'd you waste your money on that?
Why is he wearing an Arsenal shirt to school on a Thursday?
It was football club, Keris.
Oh, so okay, yeah, that makes more sense.
But yes, going back to Jess's original point, maybe that's what happens with the fax machine.
I was going to say, I don't even know what my original point was anymore. I'm having some sort of, I don't know, midlife crisis, quarter life crisis. I don't know. Maybe probably like a third life crisis actually at my age. I can't even say quarter anymore.
Oh God!
Oh my God! I left college in 2014. What are you on about? Primary school.
I was going to say I left high school in 2014.
Oh, God, the horrors never end.
Just so I do remember when Ron Atkinson got sacked, because that was just as I became a United fan, 1987. So I did know that Atkinson was gone, because I arrived when Fergie arrived, which was.
Oh, well, that makes me feel a lot better. Thank you, Barry. I was not born yet.
See,
so.
Cian gets it. Cian just says, "You lot are old." Yeah, just tell him.
I mean,
say that, he might be talking to you as well. He could be 11.
Yeah.
4 in 2015. I've already been in work for a year.
Oh my life. Yeah. Maybe we should stop.
Please.
33.
Oh, children.
33 in 2015. That's how old Jesus was when he died.
My God, 29. You must be about 4. It's past your bedtime.
2019. Yeah, she's left that.
An actual football update, if anyone minds. This is not United. Tom Gowrie tweeting, Kira Walsh's move to Chelsea has progressed. All parties are understood to be confident the deal will be completed in time, so it might not be announced tonight. But yeah, seems like Kira Walsh will be going to Chelsea in a move likely to absolutely explode the heads of all the Arsenal fans out there, which I don't know. Yeah,
everybody's
they can just have the league, I guess.
Honestly, it's like they need her. But there you go.
Maybe they're going to play like 15 on a pitch next season.
I can't get past this. I'm sorry.
I believe that there are some actual newborn babies in the chat. Like, you all need to get off here and go to bed. It's past your bedtime. You've got like year 1 in the morning.
Listen, if they left primary, that'd be Ave. They're like 7. That Amelia must be what, 16 or 17?
Bristol City have won the award for best announcement.
I've literally just seen it on Twitter, and it is so funny. Connie, you need to bring it up on screen because I can't like turn my laptop around. I've got it on my other screen, but it's really funny. If anyone watches The Traitors anyway, if you don't watch The Traitors, then
I don't watch it, so I've just seen it. That doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, what do you mean if Connor watches something? Connor doesn't watch anything. Connor's not understood a single popular culture reference in the over a year I've known him.
I know. Even I know the Never Much Love When You Go OT reference, and I don't even like Drake. But even I knew that.
No,
I mean, number 1, they've not actually announced anyone yet, have they? It's just a teaser. Number 2, it looks more like a Dementor.
See, I understand that.
And in fairness, it sucked the life out of what was going on, because I was hoping that was going to be something brilliant. And
I know. I thought that was going to be a lot better than that. I can't lie. Sorry, Richard, but I thought that was going to be so much better than what
guys,
that was.
You've got to watch The Traitors. It is sick. I don't really watch a lot of TV.
It's a guy with it's a woman, sorry, with a longer black
that
jacket
might be
on.
Claudia Winkleman.
Like,
listen, we've got kids in primary school. You should have warned them before they saw that.
I also don't watch the show, so I also don't really get
they're all useless. The one thing I actually watch, I don't watch anything, but I watch The Traitors, and you're all
I
like,
haven't watched The Traitors, and I can't see a world where I'm rushing to do so.
no, I actually do recommend it. It is very good.
It would be lovely, but do you know what? I keep getting asked to come on channels like this and keep having to do things. I don't have time to watch TV in between writing out my match reports and interviews and everything else. Nobody lets me watch TV. Free Barry.
Fairs. I understand. I've been off work sick for like 5 months. I had a lot of free time.
True story, bro.
Honestly,
I can't believe we've still got 188 people watching us. Can we just take a moment to say how monumental this evening has been? At one point, we had about 280 odd people who had nothing better to do with their lives than to come and watch.
Barry, try to be a bit less insulting when you say thank you.
Listen, if I tried to be less insulting, people would think something's wrong. It's unreal. Like, seriously, fair play to you all. That's an absolute banger. And we are at the point now where we are just able to chat about anything, really, because I think none of us actually care now. It's all gone. It's just like we're all aware it's not going to get there.
No, absolutely. I'm glad we did this. As I said, a quick show to turn around. But yeah, there we go. I think we'll call it a day because, as I said, I just don't think too much more is going to come out, if being totally honest. In the next, obviously, we'll keep an eye on what happens. If something major changes, I will try and put some kind of show together and we'll be back. And when I say major, I mean Kelly all of a sudden, because it looks like she's coming to United. If not, you're going to have to wait until the next one on that one.
No, Brandon, I'm not calling you a loner because you might have not had anything better to do than to watch this. I had nothing better to do than to sit here for an hour and 40 minutes talking about stuff that I really couldn't care less about. So believe me, you're winning.
See, there we go. But no, I will
another show. Is that tonight you would be thinking of doing that?
Potentially.
Oh my gosh. See, I'll have to be on call for
I'm
that.
going to bed.
Oh God, my bedtime is in like 15 minutes.
There's no sleep in this game.
I'd have to join from my bed. Or like drag myself out. You know that like Traitors picture we just saw? That would be me rejoining this like past 9 o'clock, in fact.
Do you know what? I'm going to be so annoyed if we end this stream and then something comes out the minute we... It's going to happen, isn't it? You just know the minute we click in,
I'd stop saying like rejoin.
But no, thank you everyone that did tune in. As Barry said, this is our previous record for a show was about 130 odd. So to see 200, I'll have to have a look at what it peaked at, but it was definitely in the 280s that it peaked at on that I can see. So absolutely smashed our previous record. So thank you everyone for watching. Some old faces back in the chat as well, which has been amazing to see you guys back in here. Some new faces as well. So hopefully you stick around. My class of is going to be a preview tomorrow. I can't lie to you. I hadn't even thought past today. So if we can get a preview together, there will be one tomorrow. If not, potentially on Saturday. But should hopefully get that in for tomorrow on that one. But yeah, thank you everyone for watching. Thanks for these guys for hopping on to talk about it. Yeah, that's probably going to be the end of the transfer window. No movements. Bit depressing in the end, wasn't it? We thought we were going to get some big news, but there's nothing. 15 minutes.
I was just trying to work it out. You know, like 55 doesn't feel massively old. So Kian's he's not ancient. I'm intrigued now as to how old he is. I reckon he's about 18.
So Kian, I'll leave you to reply to that in a second. Make sure you're liking this video and subscribing if you haven't already. If you are new around here, like what we do multiple of these shows a week. There's lots of different types of shows that we put out throughout the channel. I'm going to ignore these guys laughing in a minute while I try and end the show because we'll never end otherwise.
Is that who Bristol City have hired? Is that what they've got? They brought in a ghost. Is Jill Scott coming back?
Jill Scott's still alive as far as I'm aware, Barry.
Yeah, I was just thinking
No, but she's retired. God, don't take the fun out of it.
Amara's arrived in the chat. Amara, we've been here for an hour and 45 minutes and we're about to go off.
You know what I mean?
I'm really sorry.
See, there we go. But this is what you get on these kind of shows as well. Like I said, I know there's a lot of new people, but it is a bit chaotic at times. But we do get through it all. I've just muted my mic as I said that.
Can we not have a moment to just see what Amara feels as an Arsenal fan? Are you happy with Chloe Kelly? If Chloe Kelly comes to you, Amara, is this something you would be you know, you come into a lot of our channels, so I am interested in your opinion on a lot of our channels, a lot of our shows. So it's only this one really comes to. But yeah, tell us, you know, if you're good with her, brilliant, great insight, love it, well worth the wait.
There we are. Well, yeah. So to round it up, Joe's just asked. Oh, hello. No more transfers from United. Sounds like maybe not. Which is a long time to get to that point. But thanks for coming with us on the ride. It's been fun. It's been a roller coaster, and we'll see what happens. Obviously with Geyse, we'll see what happens with Chloe Kelly. Because as far as we know, she has not. It sounds like City have accepted Arsenal's bid, but Chloe Kelly still has to accept that offer. So yeah, as you were, guys.
Hang on.
God.
Hang on.
Let me put on and see.
Right, can we find something to talk about for like 5 minutes?
I can easily talk for 5 minutes.
I can't believe I'm about to do this and delay the show for a second, but
I would say the men's game, but the men's game has been really boring. It's still 0-0 at half time.
Men's game impresses me.
Yeah, no, I think that's probably a fair comment.
No.
We can talk about Keira Walsh to Chelsea.
Yes.
What's your thoughts on that?
Is she just following Lucy Bronze around? I mean, that's fine if she is. That could just be her tactic. And I mean, she's always won trophies. I think.
Hello.
I think Chelsea just stopped buying people. Like,
you say hello. That's the best he's looked. He now looks like that ghost thing from Bristol City. It's amazing.
Maybe that's where he's going.
Bristol.
Traitors or to sign for Bristol.
Yeah, he's downloading it now.
No, I think Chelsea are just. I mean, it's like I said earlier. If they'd signed one of these players in a year, let alone a January and a summer, it would have been the story of the year. I think now it's. I think Tom Gary tweeted earlier that that's two of the most expensive women's signings. Two of the top 5 most expensive women's signings have involved Keira Walsh, apparently. I haven't verified it myself, but I think that's what Tom Gary said on Twitter earlier, which is quite amazing for one player to be that sort of heavily valued by clubs across the world. And obviously, if Chelsea, their aim clearly right now is Champions League, right? And they've got a 2-time Champions League, back-to-back Champions League winner in that player. So I don't know. I mean, do you see them going all the way and getting the Champions League, Jess, with the amount that they've strengthened their squad?
I mean, they really, really should. Like, they really should. If they've spent all that money, and, you know, Keira Walsh is an absolutely fantastic player. All jokes aside, absolutely world-class player. And realistically speaking, you know, someone's got to do a lot to overthrow Barcelona and their dominance. And the only way that is going to happen is by a team spending big bucks to bring in big name players who can perform at literally the highest stage. So whilst it's annoying kind of domestically, it is the only way that anyone is going to compete for that Champions League, because Barcelona have just got such a dominance. You know, Barcelona have been hoarding players for a good few years now. And I think the only way to beat that is for a club to do it themselves. And that is essentially what Chelsea are doing. You know, Chelsea have been very kind of clear cut with their aims. Their aim is to win the Champions League with all the players they've brought in. You know, with Emma Hayes, that was Emma Hayes' one real aim, to win the Champions League. They've absolutely dominated WSL. They've dominated the FA Cup, you know, the League Cups. Won everything domestically. Their aim has got to be Champions League. And realistically, at some point, with how much they've spent over the last couple of years, people are going to start asking questions if they do not win that Champions League trophy soon. So,
yeah, I think that's a really good point. Like, at what point does it feels extremely harsh to call anything wasteful spending when they're doing as well as they are in the league. But like, at what point, when when you've got a squad that can already win you the Women's Super League and your express aim is to win the Champions League, at what point does this become wasteful spending? But at what point is it still just being ambitious, right? Like, I think that line is still very kind of thin in the women's game, because money is not as kind of freely floating around as maybe, well, in some cases it is in the men's game. I know probably most Premier League clubs will tell you they do not have money floating around at the moment. But I don't know.
Do we know why it is that Kira Walsh is wanting to leave Barcelona?
I think it's been for quite a while. The understanding that I've read in reports I've read has been that she wants to come back to the WSL.
Yeah, that's always my understanding, that she didn't, like, she never settled in over there particularly. That was from what I got, more from like the sense of living abroad. I guess she's Northern, I think, isn't she? Northerns don't do well living anywhere.
Yeah, no, we can't deal with this.
My question to that would be, when we're all been sitting here going, we need someone like her, Kira Walsh, have we not tried to go in for that? Do you reckon? Has there been, like, we're all sitting here talking about a Chloe Kelly, but just imagine if the it's not going to be this, is it? But imagine if that had been the news, you know, United are going to sign Kira Walsh, or at least in the race for Kira Walsh, would have been, I think, a way better show than Chloe Kelly in that respect.
Oh, definitely. I mean, Walsh would have been, like an absolute world-class signer. For any team, getting Kira Walsh is a world-class signing, but that's where, again, it goes back to United being like proactive, and these reports, like Kerrison said, about her being unhappy have been out for basically since she moved out there. From her first season, I'm pretty sure I heard that she wasn't really enjoying it, let's say.
I mean, wasn't she at the Emirates earlier this season? I think
so. Yeah, because she has
obviously, like, you can read all sorts into players being at a stadium. It doesn't necessarily always mean that something's going to happen. But I mean, Arsenal's interest in her has been reported for a long time. Connor, what do you think about Kira Walsh?
What we're talking about? Chelsea? I feel like everyone's going to ask me in the chat now.
Kira Walsh to Chelsea?
I'm going to be but I'm going to say it before everyone starts asking me questions in the chat. But I'm going to be the biggest letdown here. I believe there will be a story coming out re Geyse in a second. I hope you can appreciate it. I cannot say it because it's not my story to say, hence why I can't. But I think we'll get some clarity on the Geyse situation very soon, which is why I was saying to hold the show just very quickly. Just had a quick call on that. But I would love to break the news tomorrow. It's not my story. But what you're talking about Walsh. I read a comment just before I came off that. This one. Anyone who complains about Chelsea spending is just jealous their club doesn't back. I agree. And that's why I put on my tweet earlier that we can all have a go at Chelsea for spending. I'd love for United to be doing that. I'd love for United to go and spend $1 million on a player and then go and spend another 500,000 on another. Like, it is a bit of a jealousy thing, isn't it? I think. But I am. I am extremely jealous of Chelsea and what they spend, because I'd much rather United be doing that. But we're not in the same. It was put eloquently to me by somebody who will remain nameless that Chelsea are shopping in Waitrose, we're shopping in Audi. Is essentially the best way to put to me. There's nothing wrong with Audi, but price ranges, it's a little bit different, isn't it?
Well, Waitrose will have you not believe that now. They've done this big thing about how actually that should
Barry, you're missing the point.
No, not missing the point at all. I'm telling you what I heard on LBC the other night. Just, it's not the case that Waitrose are just this posh upper class place. It's classist behaviour, and I shan't stand for it on this.
I mean, to be fair, I get an Ocado delivery every week, so
you're so posh.
I'm really living my best life. Look, I'm too tired to go to the shop. Leave me alone. And I am with Barry. It's not that much more expensive than when I get a Tesco delivery. It just everything costs a fortune. Nowhere is safe.
Except Audi.
Sorry, I don't know what the original point was, because I'm sure it was not about Ocado, Tesco, or Waitrose.
It was about competitiveness in the transfer market. Chelsea shopping at Harrods and we're shopping at Pep & Co. I think you need to give our players a little bit more credit and value them a little bit more than that. I think we've got a really good squad. But it's just that point about, I think it's what Jess phrased really nicely about being proactive rather than reactive. Like, if this was, Chelsea would not find themselves in this situation, I think, basically. Yeah, that's actually an excellent metaphor.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I'd say we're less Audi, more food bank at the moment.
I think that actually we wait until there's like a Colin the Caterpillar cake, like one left in M&S, and someone else is just about to get it, and we go, I want that. someone else is about to have it. No, I want that now. And I tell you what, I'll pay you 3 times the price of that Colin the Caterpillar cake because it's the last one left and I want it now. Even though I've just spent all week in Aldi, I've decided I'm going to pay you 3 times as much for this Colin the Caterpillar cake.
I was just going to say, maybe we're in the charity shop.
Exactly
I love that. Chloe Kelly not wanted, stuck in a charity shop. That's who we go after. Hell for leather. Kira Walsh, Chelsea. Unbelievable.
There we go. But yeah. Windows. So I'm just reading through the comments and stuff like that. But
I didn't know they had Audis in America.
Oh, there we go. There's still loads of you watching. The views have gone back up again. This is crazy.
Because you said you had news for everyone.
Yeah, I thought I was going to be
oh my god.
They all texted their mates, quick, come back, Connor's going to tell us all something.
I know, I really hope you can appreciate. I do feel bad, but I'm never going to reveal someone else's story. It's just not fair.
Well, can you just send them a message to hurry up, because I'm refreshing Twitter like crazy.
I'm trying.
Tell them to tweet faster. They've got 60 seconds. It's nearly 9 o'clock.
There is no updates on Kelly. I've not had any updates on Kelly. I would imagine because United are probably backing away. I think Arcee asked if we're going for permanent. We still are trying permanent, but I just don't think City are playing ball.
Again, Chloe Kelly's still got to actually accept it. So just, if
exactly.
it hasn't accepted, they've got to agree to terms.
Well, there's 2 hours now. There's 2 hours to get that paperwork done and and everything else. What have we got 30 minutes for? Have I missed something? Is there something happening?
It's another song title that we should know.
No, I don't think so. You know you have 30 minutes. I'm confused.
What's happening at 9:30? I feel like I've missed something.
I feel slightly threatened now. Oh, it's a meme.
Oh,
I don't know.
Showing our age again.
I was going to say, I spend a lot of time on the internet and I don't know that one. Maybe I really am old.
So sorry.
You know what? I don't think we can have this today. We can't have the on that one because I don't think any of us on here knew what that was.
Yeah.
I think it's because the chat have the average age of about an 8-year-old.
But there was a comment I was just going to bring up just a second ago. Where's it gone? It will come via another journalist, I would have thought, on social media, something like that. But there we go. There was I was looking for a comment, and where's it gone? That's going to bug me now. I got thrown by all the meme references. I can't find it now. Should we round it off there? Should we end it? I feel bad for ending it because there's so many people watching and so many people commenting. I don't want to end, but this is what happens on TikTok. You guys have a go at me about the TikTok live.
As soon as we come off, something will happen. Just something will happen. Well,
I mean, that's not exactly Mystic Meg stuff, is it? Of course, something's going to happen. The world doesn't stop when we come off. Come on now.
But but then on the other hand, that means if we end the show, then everyone can relax a bit and just learn the news now and then get on with their lives. So maybe it would be for everyone's good.
I mean, trust me, today has been the most stressful day because I hear every little bump in the road and every little rumor, every little thing that happens, and trying to weed through that and trying to work out where the truth lies amongst that. Trust me, I hate today because it's so stressful. When United are involved, I wish we had a quiet day. Please don't make us give our attention to the song of the men's game. To be fair, someone tweeted us earlier. I quoted it. It's the best way to watch us because someone actually has got both us on and the United game as well. So
I've got both.
Yeah, but you're on the panel, so you don't count. I'm on about people that are actually watching us. So I thought that was quite cool. Yeah, so I am kind of stalled it. And like I said, this is what happens on the TikTok lives all the time. That's why I go for 3 hours because
I can confirm that the video is actually quite good.
Oh, is it?
Are we talking about the Traitors one that I really want to watch, but you are waffling and I can't?
I've never watched the Traitors, as we've said, but actually it's quite nice.
Okay.
Lots of bits
in there.
It's worth the watch.
I'm going to just turn the sound off on my laptop, so I'm going to just ignore you guys for a minute. I'm going to just mute myself.
I just did to you lot for a minute, and yeah, that was quite nice. I liked it. It's clever. Obvious, but clever. So, yeah, definitely worth a little watch on that one. Connor, the people want us to stay.
I know. I can't believe this.
I haven't
And
had
to
my
be honest-
dinner. Do we get rights? Should we make a union?
Neither have I, Keris, because I didn't think we'd be going for so long. I've not had my tea.
Neither did I.
My bad.
Jeez, that was loud, whoever that was. But, yeah, I mean, numbers one, over 2,000 of you have watched this over a period while we've been on it. That's pretty crazy. But I haven't been able to take notice of the men's game. So that's because we're still just on here talking. But yeah. Everyone's just looking at their phones now, just kind of seeing what's going on, what's happening. This is, to be fair, we said it was a deadline day show. This is what happens on deadline day. You have the host kind of leading in and out with questions and stuff like that, and then you've got like people looking on the phone, checking things and what's going on and everything else. But
deadline day is actually very boring and uncertain for most of it. Is the sad truth. And it's especially annoying if you actually have a job outside of football, as most of us do, because you're trying desperately to be productive and you just can't.
Honestly.
Right. I've just watched that Bristol video, and as someone that has watched all the traitors, that was the most perfect thing I have ever seen in my life. I am so happy. I don't know what you were talking about because I was watching that. But it was really, really good. So thank you to Bristol, who have turned out to be the real heroes of this transfer window, which is not what I would have expected.
No.
The men have brought Ahmad on, which is how you know it's bad. And I think maybe Garnacho as well. So, yeah, the men. That's a sign of how the men are doing, if anyone's bothered about that. Half-time, and we've just brought in the cavalry to get past the mighty Bucharest. So we'll see how that goes.
Hey, if it stays 0-0, we finish top 8, so it's all good. I would imagine.
Someone said we need elevator music. Rose said we need elevator music. Maybe we do. This is where we. Do you know what? This is where we need. If any sponsors are watching it, this is where we need a sponsor and a little ad break in between. You know, like we could go, here's our sponsor video that plays for like a minute or so, and then we get a bit of a break. So you're not just seeing us, you know. So if anyone's watching, if you're on the sponsor channel, by all means, get in touch. My phone has been a constant charger order. Yeah, it's been a busy day, albeit nothing's actually happened, and that's what it sounds weird when you say busy day. But there's just been a lot of news, and there's been a lot to take on board. I guess a question, and while we're on a transfer show, has this window been a success? If nothing else happens from now until 11, when things can be confirmed, what is it successful in terms of the window that we've had?
Oh, we haven't really done anything, have we? So
I mean, three loans. So Emma Watson, Lucy Newell, Jess Simpson gone on loan, Ladd on a permanent, Kayla Rendell in on a permanent. Is that a success?
Well, no, not really, because losing Hayley Ladd isn't a good thing, is it? That's a bad thing because we're talking about depth. She's someone who we could definitely use. Emma Watson going, we've just shown that we can probably do with another attacker. But as you said, she's probably not going to get used. So, no, I don't think it is successful as such. I think it's just all we've done is weaken our depth. It's probably good for the players. It's not so good for the club.
I think it's a good transfer window if no one gets injured, but that's quite a big if. You know, like I think sending my stance with the players who've gone out on loan. I think Kayla Rendell is a great keeper to bring in. But again, I think it's a shame for Saf if she doesn't end up going out on loan. I think it's very difficult to see her getting minutes. So I think that's a shame. But I think the other loans that we have completed, I think Emma, Lucy, Jess have all been very positive for the players. The concern is then just obviously, as you say, the club. Like if we do start dropping players to injuries, which if we stay in the FA Cup, like that is a possibility because we're going to have increased kind of loading and everything. I think the main kicker and the thing that will leave a sad feeling about the window is Hayley Ladd leaving for most United fans. Even though I think it's the best thing for her, I think just seeing a player that you like that much sort of leave for another club is always just difficult, even if you know that it's the best thing for that player. So whether the transfer window has been a success or not, I think it's like Barry said, just not much has really happened. I think if we don't get any injuries and our squad depth turns out fine, then the transfer window has been fine. And I think if we do get injuries, then we'll be looking back at it as a missed opportunity.
Jess, anything to add on that one?
I think it's been a strange day because it's been very stressful, and in conclusion, nothing has happened. Like literally nothing has happened.
But what about the window as a whole? Has it been successful, do you think?
I think bringing in like another keeper, that was an absolute must. So from that side of things, yes. I think not like Lad going was sad, but happy she's going somewhere, she's going to get game time. Like, I understand it. I think it wasn't handled great because it feels like a lifetime ago now, but obviously Everton kind of announced it before we had thought about announcing it. A lot of miscommunication there, clearly, but that really does feel like 3 months ago when it was probably about 3 weeks. I think the younger players going out on loan, fantastic for them, because, it's not fair to have all that potential sat on the bench on the off chance that they might get 10 minutes here or there. That's not good for a player's development when they're like 18 years old. So I'm happy for them that they've gone out. I think, we've already been through Saf. I think that's hugely disappointing that it's either hugely disappointing that she's going to be essentially stuck at the club and not getting game time, or we've brought in a keeper who isn't going to get any game time because, one of them is, there can only be one second keeper, and you're not going to drop Fallon. She realistically is not going to lose any game time, I wouldn't have thought, unless, God forbid, she gets injured. I think, fingers crossed, we obviously don't suffer with injuries or anything like that, and we don't have to test the depth situation, but I'm a little bit concerned about our depth going forward, which is obviously why we have tried to kind of panic buy Chloe Kelly. So I think it's a little bit disappointing. I think it goes back to, in fact, I'm going to say it's disappointing because it goes back to the fact that we've just not thought well enough in advance. And I seem to remember having this exact same argument for probably the last 2 transfer windows. We could see we had weaknesses in different positions and we just never did anything about it, basically. And I think we're probably in the same situation now, realistically. I'm not surprised that our transfer window has gone like this at all. But yeah, I think overall we could come unstuck quite badly due to not being proactive in the slightest.
Yeah, I think that's it. And I think if anyone who watched the interview I did with Charlotte Harper the other day, she said that they expected United to have a quiet window, and so did I, to be honest. I didn't think we would make too many moves, to be honest, because the squad is kind of good where it's at the moment. But I don't know. I'm not massively concerned. As I said, obviously, the J situation will have its resolution, I'm sure, and see that one. But so I'm not massively concerned. But I think overall, the window's been okay. It's not been a success in my eyes, but it's also not been. I think, Barry, you said this, didn't you? We weakened our depth a little bit, which we have. Good for the individual players. Maybe, obviously, time will tell in terms of our season. What will happen there. So, yeah, I'm happy with the squad, but I hope this means in the summer we do get the targets that we're after, because it worries me a little bit that there's a couple of other clubs that are looking at some of these players, which you'd expect with the caliber of player we're talking about here, but we shall see.
I would say here just about, there has been people, and I know Jess mentioned it earlier as well, about the planning. And I don't know if there's that many football clubs that plan really for January windows. Like, you don't generally tend to bring players in on the most part for January. You might have, I liken going to Aldi is a bit like your transfer window. Got your shopping list. That's what you want to get. That's your summer transfer window. That's your idea. It's what I want to go and get. But when you get in there, you get to the middle aisle. And at that point, you didn't realise quite how much you needed a leaf blower. But now that you've seen it, you're like, leaf blower? That could be quite a good thing, actually. I want that leaf blower. I don't even have a tree, but a leaf blower could be a really good thing to have. So all of a sudden, the leaf blower becomes way more important than everything else. And then, of course, you get to your next transfer window, which is when you actually plan for what you needed to buy, because you weren't buying a leaf blower, you didn't need it. And I kind of feel like that's what the winter transfer window really is. You're sitting there going, do I need a leaf blower? Chloe Kelly was a leaf blower. She didn't need a leaf blower. It wasn't the most important thing we ever had. But yes, she is. She is the leaf blower in this story. We didn't necessarily need it. But sadly, what there might have been then, there was a rake that we did actually need. And we didn't bother going for the rake because the leaf blower was more shiny and easy to get.
That's a really good way of putting it.
Speaking of, it's a great analogy. Speaking of, we weren't really speaking of transfers, to be honest. We were speaking of leaf blowers. But the Athletic, Charlotte Harper, in fact, reported a few minutes ago, just confirming what we felt we already knew. City have accepted the loan offer from Arsenal, but the move hasn't been finalised. And apparently, according to the tweet that's come out from the Athletic, we approached twice and were pushed back twice. So for whatever reason, they just really do not want her to go to United, but are happy for her to go to Arsenal, which, as I think it was the first thing I said at the start of this show more than 2 hours ago, was how bizarre I found it. But there we are. And obviously there's this chat about Laura Beinrother as well, whose name I've definitely just pronounced wrong, so I apologise for that. Going the other way, my understanding from what I've seen is that would be a separate deal, so it sort of only explains it to a point, but I guess we can only take the compliment that City seem to see United as more of a threat than Arsenal, I guess.
Yeah, and I've literally just read that as you were reading that out as well. Yeah, so twice. I would imagine the first one was the loan, the second one was a buy, a permanent offer from United, both of which were turned down. I will try and find out what kind of fee that is, but women's football at the moment is kind of hard to get fees and certain deals. There's a lot of undisclosed that go on, so I don't think that will ever necessarily come out. But yeah, interesting. Twice that we went for clearly, obviously wants that deal to happen. And we're in a situation now where things that we thought, and any of you who were on the TikTok live yesterday said how funny it would be if we're sat here tomorrow and everything that we're talking about doesn't happen. We're pretty much coming up to that territory now, which, to be fair, I'm kind of content with. To be honest, I'm relatively content that it's gone a lot quieter than it closes at 11. Well, officially closed at 11, but I wouldn't expect announcements tonight. I think if deals are going to happen, you're probably going to get a Walsh announcement maybe tomorrow. If Kelly goes to Arsenal, you're probably going to get that tomorrow and stuff like that. But officially, the paperwork's got to be in by 11.
Are we? I do want to ask just like a potentially final thought. If we had never...
We said that an hour ago.
Yeah, but I'm starving, Connor. The last thing I ate was some cheese and crackers at 2:30. So this is a final thought. Had we never ever been linked to Chloe Kelly, would any of us be sat around talking about a potential move right now? She was never a target, really.
No, I think the thing for me was obviously the Geyse story. That was why I looked at that and thought we need another winger. As I said before, I want another winger anyway, because even with Jason Squad, I feel like we can't keep relying on Rachel Williams as good as she is. Her contract's up at the end of the season. I would imagine she either retires or leaves, if I'm being totally honest, when it comes to the summer. So we're going to need one anyway, another forward. Yeah, we're still here. Believe it or not, I tried to wrap it up 3 times, and then I'm still waiting on a story to drop anyway. But my point being that I'm not too fussed, to be totally honest. I'm more concerned about the summer and getting those done than I am getting Kelly now.
So is it possible again then that basically we've just been played and that it's our name that's been thrown out there by the agents to try and get some sort of interest, and then Arsenal have gone, do we really want Chloe Kelly to go to Manchester United? Maybe because they've got like Beth Mead, they've got some reasonable players themselves. That's probably the most ideal thing. They're both going to be fighting to go to the Euros. I would argue that you as a manager of Arsenal, you've got a real problem there, because effectively whoever you pick to be your number one there is probably going to be the player that goes to England. So you literally hold him the cards right there.
I would tend to agree with you in a normal case. I do think the interest for United was real this time around. I do think today we've tried to get that over the line. It's not uncommon that teams use United to garner interest from others. As I said, the Arsenal interest isn't new. Last summer they were after Chloe Kelly, so this isn't a new thing as such. I'm just surprised that they've gone so late in the window. But as some of you guys will know, Keris in particular, I sent Keris a message about 2 hours before we came on here, and at the bottom of that message was Arsenal might try for somebody else later on this evening, which we now know who that is. So it all ties in. But there we go. Right, we are going to wrap it up there because, as Keris said, I'm starving as well. No, I've not had my tea either. It's 9:20. There's still over 160 of you watching, so really appreciate that, and all of you that are watching as well. There was a comment just a second ago I did just quickly bring up about, is this our longest ever show? I don't think it is. I'm pretty sure our FA Cup final one was 2 hours and 40, I think, by the time we ended that one. So this isn't going to be our longest ever show. And we've done watch longs as well, which have been like 3 hours as well. So it's not our longest ever, but certainly been our highest numbers. Can we hit the... Here we go. It is a challenge to everyone that's still watching. Can we hit the record number of likes? The most likes we've ever had was on the Fallon Tullis-Joyce interview, which is 100 and... I don't know what it is. It's in the hundreds. It's about 120, 130, I think, the last time I checked. So if we could smash the like record, that would be amazing. What's Keris looking
Sorry,
at?
the men nearly just scored a really good goal.
They have scored
Hit the crossbar. Oh,
we have scored one.
yeah, we've scored!
Oh, there we go.
We scored. There we go. Diogo Gallot of all people.
Yeah.
I thought you were about to tell us some transfer news then.
Oh, no, sorry. This is nothing to do with the transfers.
I was about to start like freaking out if it was something to do with transfers. I've given up with the men. Now I'm just like... Oh.
What was great about that, though, was that Keris was explaining how we'd just missed, and I'm like, but he's celebrating.
I know, I'm sure just...
Celebrating. Why would you celebrate?
Oh, what, am I behind?
You must be.
Oh, I might be a few seconds. Well, on that bombshell.
I don't like the transfer window. There's too many twists for me.
I don't like it either. But
right.
So what did you say the record was for likes?
I don't know. It's definitely the Fallon one, but I don't know how many it's on.
Well, have a look.
Hang on.
You had to get, when I sat here and you were going, well, how many games has they played?
118. 118. There you go.
Because we're on, from what I can see, 95 at the moment.
Oh, see, we're only about 20 away.
Hang on, I'm just likes it.
So come on.
Yeah, I might as well.
To be fair, our most ever liked live video is 114, which was the FA Cup final one.
114. Well, we're on 97 now because I've just liked it. So come on. I feel like we're on Children in Need or something.
I've liked it. You're welcome.
Come on, 97. Any advance on 97? There's 146 people watching. You've only got to push that little thumbs up thing. Careful. Don't push the thumbs down.
101.
Come on. Let's see it. 98. Angelique's gone for 103. Come on now.
This is like Harry, you're going full teacher right now. As soon as he goes, nobody's going to lunch.
Nobody's going to
lunch. Find missing glue stick.
Oh, you're right. So this is what it is now. If you would want to see, like, this man needs nutrients in his hair. He needs the nutrients, otherwise that hair starts to flop. 107, not good enough. We wanted 114. He's got to eat until then. Keris might drop another F-bomb if we do it.
Woo!
You can so now. It's past.
No, I'm not. Oh my god. I'm not allowed.
I'm fuming. I think even I managed to avoid dropping an F-bomb. I'm gutted that I have not been able to.
To be fair, though, Jess, you're always going to have the best comment that was ever made on all four ones. So, I think you'll always be the winner on that one. He does need nutrients in his hair. I don't. We're 111 people. Come on.
113.
113, apparently we're getting there. Any advance on 113? We've done it. It's 115.
Well done, everyone. It's been real. This has been the achievement of the entire night, actually.
Who needs leaf blowers?
Who needs Chloe Kelly?
Honestly.
15 as well.
But no, I really appreciate that. Everyone who's just
unlike it as soon as we go.
Yeah, it's going to change the thumbs down soon.
But yeah, I think we're going to have to end this, aren't we? I've said that about 5 times, but we will be here all night otherwise. As I said, if there's any major developments, I will come back. I'll give you my word on that. I'll quickly mock up another thumbnail and come back because there's been lots of you watching, so it's clearly the appetite's there to watch it. Kelly seems to be going to Arsenal again. One to keep an eye on whether Kelly agrees to that or not. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Right, we are going to wrap it up there because Keris needs a tea. So do I. Barry, what is it now?
Kelly Smith.
Oh, to be fair, someone actually commented on the TikTok lives yesterday and came up as Kelly Smith, and I had to double check. I was like, wait, hang on a minute, is that actually?
Imagine if she was just there wanting to get the latest gossip about United.
I know, couldn't believe that.
Maybe we should bring her out of retirement and play her.
Honestly, I'm kind of open. I don't know what I'm hoping for now, but there we go. But me and Keris doing our tea. So like I said, you've had my word, everyone. If something happens, we'll be back. Don't worry about that. But at the moment, nothing is. So we're going to go have tea. She's answering.
Dinner, as people actually call it.
Okay, it's tea.
It's tea. It's definitely tea.
No tea.
I was gonna make pasta bake, but quite frankly, I don't think I can be bothered. So I'm gonna see what I've got in the freezer.
Okay.
Girl dinner. I love that for you.
Dinner.
Connor, what are you ordering from Just Eat / Deliveroo?
I'm not. I need to go put my chicken on croûte in the oven.
Or chicken what?
Which could be
What?
on croûte, isn't it? That's what it's called. When it's wrapped in
A little pastry thing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I love that.
Sorry, I'm a student. I don't know on croûte.
I used to just get one from Tesco as a little treat sometimes.
Yeah, which could be interesting considering the state of our kitchen, and we did have the flood there yesterday. So whether this oven's even working or I don't know. So it's quite fun to go and keep an eye on. But anyway, we are going to wrap it there. As I said, you have our word. We'll be back if anything breaks. Thank you everyone for watching, for smashing the like record, for putting all your amazing comments. As always, massively appreciated. And yeah, for now, I'll say see you guys in the next one, but we could potentially see you in about an hour's time. We'll see. Have a good evening or see you guys later.